All right, welcome to episode 89 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again, nameless, faceless, well, I guess not nameless, but he is faceless, Chris.
Hello.
We hear him as a voice, you see him as a cartoon character, and if you're hearing things, is it real? I don't know. Also joining us is Steven.
Hello again.
Eventually I'll figure out a better way to do these openings. I'm just kind of going along with it. I stopped doing the AI buddy joke because I felt kind of bad. It's almost like calling a person an NFT, and that's just insulting. So
I was fine with it.
only
Not
because
the
you
NFT
were programmed.
thing. Yeah,
only because you're programmed to.
Beep.
You just put in the prompt. Just be okay with this. Oh man.
Acquiescence accepted.
So let's go ahead and jump in real quick to what we've been playing, because this is going to be a pretty one-sided discussion. We're going to start with Chris, though, because he wants to be the weird one that actually played something else. So, Chris, what you been up to, man?
Okay, aside from the thing which we're all going to talk about, I also played the Street Fighter 6 open beta. I played the demo for a while. The open beta was a lot of fun. I kind of wish that they had put both in the same kind of... I guess both in the same box for accessibility, because if you play the demo, you get to play the regular fighting game and the World Tour. The open beta is only the Battle Hub. It would have nice to just have that in one package for, a couple of days, but at least we still have the demo. You got to play a lot of the other characters, a lot of really good Jury fans out there. Chun-Li was fun. So, a nice taste of the game before June 2nd.
So, quick question to put you on the spot here then, Chris. Street Fighter wise, what are your favorite Street Fighter games that you've liked previously? Because it sounds like you're kind of into the fighting genre for some of these.
Okay. Well, I do like a lot of Capcom games. Really, oddly enough, unfortunately, they said that it was not dead, but it is very dead. Darkstalkers is one of my favorite series, and that's not coming back. But
we
I've
got the
always
fighting
enjoyed...
collection, and that was it.
Yeah, I'll take it. But aside from that, I was always partial to Street Fighter Alpha 2. I always liked the feel of that game in general. And Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo was always a lot of fun because it introduced Akuma, and that just changed things so much. It took me a while to get used to Third Strike, but it is a lot of fun in its own way.
Third Strike had really good animation.
Yes.
There's actually two versions of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo out there, and unfortunately the Anniversary Collection got the bad one. Basically, the glitch in the programming is after 2 fights, the game ramps up to a difficulty that's unmatched.
Ooh.
And no matter how low you set the difficulty, it doesn't matter.
Arcade version.
But versus, it's wonderful.
Give me your quarters.
Exactly.
A lot of people are going through the legacy of Street Fighter to get ready for 6. So I learned about that one. A lot of people didn't they hated Super Street Fighter 2, but then they loved Turbo. But then the arcade versions had an unfortunate glitch.
There's very, very few Street Fighters I don't have fun with in some way. I mean, that's just the means of it. You can get in there, get a couple rounds in, and that's its job. But if I have to pick the two that I really like, Street Fighter Alpha 3, I think is my favorite of the 2D original style.
Okay.
I played the living crap out of that on Dreamcast, on PSP. And then when I got it on the fighting collection and played that, it was consistently always in there. I always loved it. And then I am a big fan of Street Fighter 4. I do really enjoy that one. And played every variation of it, and I finally got the I can't remember exactly what it's called, because one was the arcade edition, and I think it's the ultimate or whatever they call it.
Ultra, I think.
I think it is Ultra, yeah. Which
that is another good one.
Well, thankfully, it's backwards compatible on Series X, so it plays. It's upscaled to 4K, running just locked 60. It's just beautifully running.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'll pop the disc in and we play the crap out of that on occasion, because all the content's still there. You get everything.
Yeah, I'd probably say Ultra Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition TM is probably one of my favorites as well. I think I just put it out of my mind because when I think 3D Street Fighter, I think of 5 and not fond of that one.
No, 5 basically doesn't exist to me. They were just like, we're going to make it just for PlayStation. And I was like, okay, it doesn't exist. Let's go back to 4.
That's all right. You didn't miss out on much. 5 is why they're trying so hard with 6.
I'm glad they're doing better with 6 from what I've seen. I'm hesitant to get it day 1 because I don't know. I've got a few friends that are probably going to get it. But I've gotten to the habit, and I do with Mortal Kombat also. I kind of wait for a complete version to come out, if possible, because I want to have all of it together to just enjoy it without being nickeled and dimed.
Now, if the game didn't have such a amazing looking world tour mode, I'd be in your boat, because I've always been that way with Tekken, which will not release a complete edition. They just finally get all the DLC out. The Street Fighter I always would. The Mortal Kombat I still will with this upcoming one that I put on the list. But this one I was just like, I can't miss out on that story mode. It looks so good.
What are you getting it on?
I'm getting it on PlayStation just because I have 4 and 5 on PlayStation.
Okay. Chris, which one are you getting it on?
PC, so I'll be getting it on Steam. I'm very much a PC player, always have been.
Okay.
It helps that, most Xbox games end up on PC anyway. So
I'll probably end up getting it on Xbox. So I guess we're not. I don't know. We'll see how. Maybe it'll go on sale eventually.
Crossplay. There was crossplay in the last one.
The 6 is supposed to have crossplay. So.
Yeah. I was about to say, was there crossplay in the last one since it was just on one console? Well, it was on PC as well, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing 6 will have crossplay. So don't worry. I'm sure we'll cross swords eventually.
Watch it end up being like Steven can fight Chris. Jeremy can fight Chris. Steven and Jeremy cannot fight.
Oh, boy.
I've had that on PlayStation before.
Yeah. Okay. Damn it, I might end up having to get this. You guys cost me money. All right, one last question. I kind of thought about this, and we'll just go around for each of us. If you have to choose the rest of your life playing Street Fighter, controller or arcade stick?
Controller.
Controller, to my personal shame.
Now, if you ask me which controller.
Yes, which controller?
Probably PlayStation 2.
Saturn.
Okay. I would actually go fight stick.
Ooh.
I have an X-Arcade tank stick that I've been using for generations now that I absolutely love.
Huh.
That I've adapted to almost every console I have so that I can sit there and, we can do full two-player arcade fighting. I've got some really good fighting. I had the actual official Dreamcast arcade fighting stick, which is still to this day great. I love using it. And I had a couple other ones. Like some of the controllers have gotten good. Like if I have to use a controller, I kind of prefer a Super Nintendo layout. Like that's just my Street Fighter layout.
I think it's mainly because of the D-pad. Because when I play fighting games and they take a lot of buttons, I will literally play like this. So because sometimes they'll need both punches, or they'll need to tag in, or whatever game you're playing. So it'll look like I should be playing on a fight stick, but I no, this like going back and forth.
I don't know.
That's Pac-Man. I can't do that on a fighting game.
Oh, if I have to do actual rotation directions, I'm so much faster on arcade. And when I'm playing, like we'll say this is the arcade stick, I'm holding up a screwdriver. If I'm getting really into it, I'll hook under the ball, and all of a sudden I'm doing that.
Oh, you'll do that method. That's the thing. I haven't been in enough arcades with fighting games to learn.
My friend Remy found out the hard way because he was just we were playing Street Fighter, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really good." He's like, "Let me get my arcade stick," and I got it out, and he realized like, "Oh shit, he actually does this." And I started like, "Now we can be competitive."
It's like that Fresh Prince episode where he's just like, "Break out, Lucille."
Oh, God, I love that episode.
And he's got the his own cue. So it's like, all right.
I like how this beginning segment kind of became the little question of the show. Like we just picked one and went into it.
Why not?
Hey, it was fun. I've learned new things about you. We all like Street Fighter, just different ones, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's such a wide variety of a series that there really is no wrong answer in those things. I like having those questions just to see what people have.
There is a wrong answer. Street Fighter 1.
Okay, good point.
No, there is a wrong answer. Street Fighter the movie.
The game. Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know what? You laugh. That was actually kind of fun. I have it.
No,
Was it perfect? It was better than Street Fighter.
The arcade one that had like weird, like 1,000-hit combos and weird stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the Saturn and PlayStation versions were actually made more interesting.
That one they brought back in Capcom to make it feel like a Street Fighter game.
The weirdest looking version of Akuma.
That too.
Because I have it on Saturn.
Oh, there you go.
So here's some geek Easter egg for you for that game though.
Oh yes.
Akuma is played by Ernie Reyes Sr., who unfortunately passed away, but he is the father of Ernie Reyes Jr., who is the kid in Secret of the Ooze. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
All right.
So look at that. The little brat from Secret of the Ooze, his dad's Akuma, so you better watch out.
I was just like, sweet. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, that's terrible. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on. And I would, the only thing I could add is I've been in Nevada most of this week. Flew out to Vegas and went out and worked on a bat cave. Got some really cool videos of that. But the whole time I'm out there in the middle of this desert and mountains and everything, and I'd look around going, if I was Link and I climbed up there, what could I find? That looks like there'd be a chest over there. Hey, that looks like where a cave would be. I'm actually in a cave. Where's that stupid bubble frog to shoot it?
Do I have to take the elevator? Can't I just ascend?
Where's my stamina wheel?
I had to climb about 2 stories of a rock face to get into this cave. So yeah, believe me, I was thinking of that the whole time. Oof. I'm like, there's a small cave down here when they dug out when they were mining for guano back in the day when they made the first one. Can I just ascend through that and then? So all of us have been playing an ungodly amount, at least on my part. Like my sleeping habits in life have changed now because I'm playing so much of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Oh my God, this game is so much fun. Yeah, about how much have you guys gotten through the story so far?
Okay, I better.
Story? The story?
Okay, Steve and I are in opposite sides of this one right now. I never experienced the Tetris effect before. I have now because of this game. I have been dreaming about Tears of the Kingdom. And like I told both of these guys before the podcast, I had to excuse myself for being late because right now my Switch is in sleep mode against the final boss.
If you told me that, I would have just delayed the show.
It's okay.
Chris is busy fighting Thirst Ganon and cannot come to the podcast right now.
It's okay. I can wait. But yes, I've finished the entire story. I have not finished the side quests, mind you. But there's still a lot to do. But from what I hear, if you finish the game, it gives you a completion counter. And that will give me a little easier time finding all the little nooks and crannies later.
I've been going through trying to get every little side quest done. Like I've spent an ungodly amount of hours. I'm just now got through the Goron area. I've done the Zora area. I've done the Gorons. Like I was mostly sticking just to the Hylians. It was a while before I saw anything that was not a human or Hylian or whatever. Just because I was running around. Finally made it down to the Zoras, got that completed. And then when I got to the Gorons and finished those, now I'm kind of wandering off to the left side of the map.
Oh, interesting.
But I'm just going where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to run over there. Or every time I get launched out of the map thing, which by the way is really fun. And I love that mechanic.
Yes.
I'm exploring and finding all kinds of crazy secrets and things. And it's funny. I explore so much that half the time when I get to a mission, they're like, yeah, we need you to get a series of pictures of this stuff. So you already have them. And I love the fact they actually wrote in there a shocked surprise. Oh, you already have this. And I keep finding that.
There are a lot of, let's call them safeguards, I've noticed. This has probably happened to Steve as well, but this happened to a friend of mine where he essentially got himself stuck on an island where even if he jumped off, he'd just end up back there. He was incredibly frustrated until I told him that the game saves 2 or 3 times to stop idiots like us from soft locking the game.
So Chris will know that when I booted up what I like to call Revenge on Koroks, the Mystery of the Vanishing Zelda, I told him, I said, I probably won't beat this for close to a year. And he's just like, what? Why? And then he was like, I'm interested. I'm going to watch you play. So Chris can attest to this, but there's been times, and he kept saying, you can come back. And I was like, no, I would see something I want to get to at that point in the game. And this is when I still have 4 hearts. I'm still still in the sky area where people have apparently been spending hours there. They're not going down anytime soon. But I saw, first I saw a little plateau I could get up to, but I couldn't climb it because I would slip. Mm-hmm. He watched me for 2 hours just stick together different pieces of rocks and 2 logs until it hooked in there properly so I could climb on top just to get some ore. And then he watched another one where I finally got the ability to kind of coast with one of those wings. And I kept trying different methods of using the wing until I got to an island I saw. And he's like, I'm not watching you get to that one. But I finally got to that island, and there was nothing there except for some text. Mm-hmm. Rauru, however you say his name is, Rauru. He was there.
Take pictures of those.
He was there, and he just told me stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. But I did all that just to hear him say something that was meaningless to me. But that's what I've been doing. I went the wrong way when I got down to the ground. I went southeast, and everything one-shotted me, but I made sure to at least complete the side quest no matter how hard it was.
Well, I'm like, is there really a wrong way? Because, like, no matter which direction you go, things are going to one-shot you. Like, this game is brutal.
If you then I went to Rito Village, and Rito Village seemed to be skewed towards my ability. So I was like, I'm guessing I was supposed to come here first. So I got to do the Wind Temple and do all that stuff. So it was really nice.
The game does kind of point you in that direction this time.
The game is like a little bit like Dragon Warrior back in the day, where if you go into the wrong area, these different colored versions of your favorite enemies are going to just smack you around.
Yeah, you can still fight them all with the same rules. You just have a higher difficulty of like dodging and so forth but they don't like make it like an instant you have no chance. Like you actually, if you're good at the game and you go back and play it, you can go to a difficult area. I mean,
it just takes a lot. Because the weapons like did nothing to the southeast, and I had to use like explosives because my regular weapons, no matter what I had, did nothing to all of them.
Oh god! Speaking of bombs, I found out when I was going through the Goron stuff last night the hard way. Do not bring out a bomb arrow or hold a bomb when you're in an area that wood catches on fire.
Oh, that's always fun.
Because I pulled out the arrow and blew up in my face and I died. I'm like, son of a.
But for 2 things that happened that were pretty funny, when he was watching me play the beginning, and I was what I like to call over exploring because I want to know where, did I look here? Did I go around this whole entire cave or something like that? I actually found an outfit he never did, so he started swearing. And he's like, I gotta go all the way back and get that now.
I've got a bunch of outfits so far. I don't have all the pieces of all of them. I'm still trying. I've got 2/3 of the flight suit.
I found out a lot of the amiibo outfits are actually in the game. You don't have to use an amiibo.
Yeah, all of them are there, which I'm okay with that. Because 1, it's nice getting them from the amiibos. It's just fun doing that. 2, you can still find them if you don't have the amiibos, which I know some of them are really hard to get. And 3, if you get both, they sell for like 600 rupees each. So I would just start chucking off the extras and making some money.
Yeah, rest in peace to anybody who's updated their Zelda recently. We were at 1.1.1, I think now. So now all the duplication and overpowering glitches are gone.
Oh crap! Mine's trying to update. Well, we know what I'm doing after the show. I'm going to because I never did any of the duplication, and I'm like, I should probably do that.
The easiest one they had was the one that, as long as you're paragliding, you just hold a bunch of stuff, you press Y and B together, and then you go pick them up. However, be careful if you're trying to do that with bomb flowers.
I'm not going to do it with bomb flowers. I've learned my lesson with bombs.
I did. I took a video of it for Chris to watch later because I was like, hey, I made a mistake. And he was like, I warned you. I was like, okay.
I did warn you. Did you listen?
No.
Yep, this is why you don't play with explosives, kids. So this has been, I think, one of the most fun I've had playing a Zelda game in a long time, even with Breath of the Wild. Like, I'm just, Tears of the Kingdom feels like they refined that whole setup so much that, you know, the world doesn't feel the same because there's all the little details and stuff everywhere, jumping up and down, you know, between the sky and the underground. I did go ahead and get the scientist to go to his lab. And that's another one where it's like, all right, we just need to do these things and you can get all these extra features. And I had every one of them except for the medallion, simply because you have to actually haul your ass over to another corner to get the medallion. So I can go back now and look and see where I've been because they do the little path.
Oh,
again.
The hero's path thing.
Yeah, I did the hero's path. Only thing I don't like about that is when it's jumping up and down between the sky and underground, it does not change the map. You have to manually change it yourself. So I was like, that sucks, because I'm working on recording my game time on Breath of the Wild as just like a video showing here's everything I did during my time playing it and just letting it play out. But Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a lot harder because of that. So
fun fact too, Anoma said the game was done in March of 2022, but he wanted to take another year to make sure all the physics worked and did not break anything, and that it was fully polished. So 6 years, I'll take it if I get a game like this.
The only bug I have seen so far, and this is nothing, is my little Goron assistant spawned into a weird spot. He was in a rock, and you just kind of see him wiggle and pop out. That's it.
I've had that, but that for me was nothing. Like, okay, it could be worse. It could be that he doesn't get to you, but luckily they teleport when they get stuck, so it's not bad.
Yeah,
because I wondered about Tulin. Whenever I would ascend, I was like, "You coming?" And he'd be like, "Boop, here I am."
Who?
You'll see.
Okay, I was like, I don't think I have that one yet. So,
I'm sure everybody here has something that will spoil. So
yeah,
be careful about it.
I try not to spoil story-related stuff, but just wandering around, I think it's just half the adventure. Like, when I told one of my coworkers about the red eyeball hands that came out of a forest I was stuck in, he had no idea. Like, I didn't even hear anybody talk about where those came from because there was no warning. I just was trying to go through the Great Plateau. I had gotten to a shrine and was working on putting the eyes into the big statue. And all of a sudden this just popped up in the woods, and I'm like using every item I have trying to kill this thing. And when I finally managed to kill it, because I didn't know what was going on, and then all of a sudden the spirit of Ganon comes out, and I'm like, what the is going on? Like, did I trigger a boss fight on accident?
Yeah, the floor masters are real jerks in this game.
So we finally figured that out, but like, he had no idea. As much as he had played it too, he'd never run into it. So
that's the interesting thing. It's we can each talk about our experiences, and I guarantee that each one of us knows something that the other doesn't about this game.
There are people who have who probably have more than this, but there are people who have logged 85 hours in this game, and one of the temples they found teaching about how to throw your weapon. And I'm like, that shows that you can go wherever you want, because they're finding tutorial shrines now, 85 hours later.
Yeah.
Like, I found one that taught me how to shoot arrows, and I was like, really? Okay.
I think some of the tutorial ones they've done are pretty creative to make you think of different ways you can do stuff.
Well, yeah, no, they're definitely nice. I especially like the ones where they're like, Rauru has blessed you with nothing to do but get the treasure.
Right.
Like,
that's because you already got there. That was the test.
Yeah. I've been having a laugh watching or finding out the stuff my kids have been doing. I keep saying kids. They've all graduated high school now. God, I'm old.
Somebody built Metal Gear Rex.
I saw that. Holy crap. But like, my son he was laughing. I was like, what is so funny? And he'd gotten the hero shield and then just stuck another shield in the front of it because he's like, I can do it.
Other people have made like the vehicles from Alien that have cannons on the front. Another one made it so he
Flying
can
bikes.
so he can fly by and bomb a land. And I was like, "What are you guys are crazy."
I'm working on making my version of a warthog.
Nice.
So I can just hop in and have a warthog.
Oh man.
But it's kind of funny when the shield's stuck to the shield. Like he's just holding the shield, and it's not like gunked on there. It looks like it actually has a frame underneath holding this larger shield. I'm like, they really thought that out.
Behold,
so like,
the shield.
Right. I'm like, I guess that
so
helped.
far my favorite funny favorite was putting a spring on the shield, because when they
go
attack
flying.
they bounce back and they fall over, and so you're like, goodbye.
I learned the hard way. Do not forget when you put a cannon on your shield.
Oh.
I went to block and they're right in front of me, and the explosion killed me.
Nice.
I was like, oh yeah, that shield should have been put away.
Yeah, I put a bomb on a pole, and I'm like, I better not use this unless I'm desperate.
I ran out of arrows, and I fused a bomb barrel to the end of a sword and just threw the whole thing.
Okay, that works too.
It did. It was like, all right, I'm going with a World War II grenade. Woo!
I did something similar because there is there's somebody who says they got those big rock formations, and they said like, if you can break this in one hit, you get whatever spoils there are. So I'm like, okay, let me think. Okay, attach a cannon to a sword. It's like, haha, one hit.
Oh,
okay, I better do that when I have full hearts next time.
I saw another funny one that I didn't expect. Do you know, you guys have probably seen one or two of the sign holders?
Oh, I've been doing every one of those
for the construction company.
Yes.
No, somebody accidentally the ones that have the notches, they put a board and they put rockets, and you actually get to see the sign rocket into space, and the guy's like, "Oh no!" The guy panics because he lost his sign. It's up in the air until it comes back down.
Oh my god!
Boy. At least the guy didn't go with it.
I was like, they thought of everything. Great. Well, yeah, because he's like, oh, I just let go, and he lets go, and it hits, and it activates everything. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Oops.
Yeah, I've started keeping what I call the oh shit shield. I keep a rocket on a shield, so if I fall down somewhere and I can't climb back up, I can just launch myself really quick.
I love how he does the Superman pose for that too.
I just do the pine cone and fire.
Okay, I haven't really done that one yet.
There's a place where they teach you. They're like, don't ever throw a pine cone in a fire, and you do that, and it makes an upward gust that's super strong.
Usually, if I fall down somewhere, I want to just immediately, because I can be falling. Like if I'm going to land in lava and I can't land somewhere, I'll just like rocket jump myself back up real quick.
That works too.
Because you can, thankfully, when you go to select things, time stops. Because that would suck if you had to do it in real time. It would make things so much harder. Oh man! All right, well we've spent almost half an hour.
This has been the Zelda podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, it's almost turning into that. So
where can we find you in Hyrule? Okay,
I think the three of us would enjoy this. Once we all finish the story, we should actually just do an extra quarter just talking about this entire game. Just however long of us just talking shit about it. Because it's fun.
You hear that, Steve? Finish the story.
We can have an anniversary episode next year.
We can do it in a couple of years. We don't have yeah. It'll be our 10th anniversary.
Oh, God.
He'll have given up and be like, I only got the one spot.
On this extra quarter, as we talk about the game week that Steven finally finished, and Chris shows his face.
We'll be in the middle of it. Steven's just like, wait, there's tears in this game? What?
Oh, boy.
What's a Korok?
How many Koroks have you destroyed?
Oh, God. I've destroyed a lot of them, actually. I've actually got a pretty good amount of those so far. I can hold a lot of swords, shields, and bows now. Because I got tired of swapping between them. All right. Okay. Well,
are we managing to tear ourselves away? I'm
trying. I'm about to. All right. We're gonna move into the news. Thank you, Chris.
Tear from the kingdom.
Chris is like, don't make me come over there. You'd show up at the door and be like, who the hell are you? Until you talked.
And then he puts a piece of paper in front of his face that has Mars on it.
You!
I was waiting for this day.
It's just a platypus. Ferry the platypus.
That's actually a pretty good Dune Smirch. That's not bad at all. All right, so I know we're laughing, but we're going to have to go and start off with sad news. Sorry. I'm just trying not to stop laughing here. So Bob Smith has passed away. Very basic name for this guy that a lot of people mentioned, but he was responsible for many of the classic Atari VCS titles like Video Pinball, Dragonfire, Riddle of the Sphinx, Moonsweeper, Star Wars arcade game, Star Voyager, and a bunch more. The main reason, other than the fact of just that he passed and wanted to bring attention to it, is he was doing a lot of interviews and stuff as well. And it kind of brings up the attention that in regards to games, conservation, it's not just getting these games or dumping the games. We need to be talking to as many of these people that are getting older and older as time goes to get these stories that are just going to go away. Once they're gone, they're gone. There's not always going to be memos you can find. And even those aren't going to tell you the actual what's been going on, which I think is one of the biggest pieces of that Atari 50th anniversary collection.
Mm-hmm.
Is all those interviews and things that they have in there. So many stories that they kept, because just, to preserve gaming, that's a lot of what people just don't ever hear about. That's why a lot of like the Iwata asks were always so important, because not just for his stories, but also like all the developers and all the stories he talked about and did. That was the only place those things came from. Like we found out a whole bunch of stuff from it. So yeah, it's just kind of getting to the point. A lot of these earlier. The reason
I pledged to a lot of those Kickstarters, like I did Insert Coin, the Night Trap 25 years later. There's all these these people are off doing other things now, but they love to talk about their passion projects. So by bringing them back, like I always feel like when I see these documentaries, I was just like, I need to watch all of them or at least support them, because they're going to have the funding then to bring these people in and be like, they'll make it worth their while. So it's always nice.
Yep. So just wanted to mention that on top of the show before we move on to the other stuff. But I used to play a lot of Video Pinball as well. So sad to see him go. All right. So moving on to the next little bit here, we're getting a little bit more information about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger. I can't talk today.
Oh my god, Blizzard.
I'm the Swedish chef. What the hell is with me today? So we got an update. The EU has agreed to let it happen. They're like, hey, we're fine with it. We see no restrictions. So that now leaves the CMA with the UK and the FCC for the US as the only two holdouts that are saying it can't happen. And some interesting stuff came out about the CMA side of it, because while for the FCC, Microsoft has taken them to court in regards to this because they had a pretty big misunderstanding for a lot of their stats to fight that. The CMA, they're going in and they're trying to fight this ruling, but it's coming out that some of the lawyers from the CMA actually may have a conflict of interest and worked for companies that were helping Sony with this stuff. So one of the UK CMA lawyers may have conflicts. They used to work for a firm represented Sony in the past. Colin Rafferty, the current senior director of the CMA, previously worked for Cleary Gottlieb, a firm that represented Sony in its regulatory objections to the acquisition. And then he's doing speaking about the post-Brexit regulatory issue and is being joined by another speaker that is part of another legal team working with Sony in its complaints against Microsoft's acquisition. So people are like, yeah, you guys worked for Sony and were helping with this stuff. Like, you probably shouldn't be ruling on these things. But from everything I've looked into, that's apparently an ongoing issue with a lot of stuff in the UK right now for conflict of interest. So I'll have to talk to my UK friends and see if they agree with that from what I've read. But the other thing is their biggest part of their complaint was that Microsoft was the largest streaming company for gaming, simply because they ruled anyone that had Game Pass Ultimate was considered one of their stream people, which made their market larger. But by that same logic, after they made the ruling, Amazon Luna came out, which I forgot was even a thing. And that would technically be the larger one because everyone with Amazon Prime has access to it. So that would now make Amazon the largest streaming company, completely negating CMA's entire argument about Microsoft. So you guys have any thoughts on this?
It just seems that I don't know. It's one of those things where similar to the political ecosphere of TikTok that's going on is that they talk about what they don't understand. So while in the past these companies may have gone with, like, I don't know, restaurants or telephone companies, now it's getting into parts where they have no experience in. They've never touched one of these, and it's becoming increasingly apparent because they're not doing their research as this major major board that makes these decisions, and they're like, oh yeah, we're making this decision because, one, we think Nintendo's not powerful enough to support Call of Duty, because we think you're the biggest cloud streaming platform there is, and we don't think that Sony does anything wrong because their check's cleared. It's like, okay.
Literally, we're finding out. Just because I used to work for them, it's no big deal.
So it always like irks me a little bit because I was like, you guys do not have the technical knowledge or anything put together to back up your statement of why you're denying it, because the reasons you're giving don't hold much water when people who have experience with it are just like, no, this isn't true because, and they present evidence.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to ask Microsoft, so does your Xbox access the Wi-Fi?
It still reminds me of like when Microsoft bought Rare and they're like, cool, we own Donkey Kong now. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Oh, that's just stupid. Chris, you got any thoughts on it?
You pretty much covered it, honestly. This is just showing that sometimes it really is up to the people who have more information on this to keep tabs, that's why social media, as much of a dumpster fire as it is right now, is still very important, so we can watch these things happen, and then people who are well aware of the situation can chime in and say, this is what's actually happening, this is how they screwed up, this is what we do next. It's what happened with Wizards of the Coast and D&D 1, and, Twitter is terrible, but it's still useful.
That's debatable.
For now.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that one here. Let's see. Where was my message? All right. So the other thing, we said the EU has already passed this. Japan's already passed it. China is one of the most recent ones that passed it. I think all the regulators in the Middle East, everybody has agreed to this being fine except for these two. So that's got to be hopefully a lot of pressure on them, but I'm kind of worried they're going to turtle and just be like, oh, we'll be the defiant ones that stay here and we'll control it. The problem is they've got a pretty good chance of switching over the FCC because they're doing the lawsuit and there's a lot of the stuff they can work with on that. They have the option, which it's kind of a nuclear option, but they could do it. Microsoft could just cut out the UK because all of Europe with the EU is fine. So they could be like, cool, we'll sell these games here, but nothing Activision Blizzard will go to the UK. You guys won't get Blizzard or Diablo 4. You won't get Call of Duty, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, whatever. We'll just have to leave it out there. And if you want to say anything, you'll have to talk to your parliament about that. Which I'm wondering how big of a fight that'll cause if they have to go that route. Because the more they stretch this out, the more it's just hurting Microsoft. They want to just get this done, and that way they can move on with their lives. And
they have a roadmap probably ready to go, but they can't.
Yeah, they missed the off ramp 6 off ramps ago.
Yep.
All right. So before we get into this lovely PlayStation State of Play, since you brought up
showcase,
I thought it was State of Play. My bad. I even changed it back.
State of Play would have been, like mile a minute and not have to show us the 4 symbols every few seconds.
Oh, Lord. I thought I mistyped something.
But yeah, no, this is the showcase. They're like, it's E3 season. This is a showcase.
Well, before we dive into that, since you were talking about the mess that is social media and Twitter, I'm going to go ahead and give an update on the Twitter account for our lovely podcast because, well, Twitter sent me a message back. They finally responded and said, hey, let us know what's going on, why we need to unlock your account. I was like, holy crap, they finally responded after like a year. Like it's been a long time. So they wanted us to respond. I messaged them back and they basically just came back and for no reason just going, yeah, we're just not going to unlock it. You broke the rules. We're not doing this anymore. Here we go. We're writing to let you know that your account has been suspended due to multiple or repeat violations of our rules. Replies to this email will not be reviewed as this decision will not be reversed. Thanks, Twitter. What rules? I still don't even know what happened. Like
you did it bad. What did I do?
Yo,
you did it bad. You know what you did.
The only thing I can think of, because you gave some like background to it, was maybe it was because you were linking to other platforms.
It wasn't even on that account. That was on my account, which is still fine. Like I got a warning.
In like what, 5 more weeks they get a new CEO, so you can try again.
They said I can try again, and I'm just like, I'm just getting so frustrated with this. I just want to get it back on there. But what kills me is they're going down the list of, what I could do wrong, and all of these are just like really bad things. I did none of them.
Like, can you please highlight the tweet where I did multiple?
Yeah, just give me the first word of what you think I did. I'll figure it out. That's something. Give me a clue. I'll Indiana Jones this shit. I don't care. So yeah, we're probably not going to have an update again for a while. I will try and submit one more time because I'm just freaking ridiculous with this stuff at this point, but So just find me at Zenspath. Zenspath Pod is apparently dead. So that's all right. We're moving over. We have a Blue Sky account thanks to one of our listeners. So I'm messing around with that. And if I can make a secondary account, I'll make one for the podcast there and see if I can get it to work. I've tried all these other ones. Mastodon still makes no freaking sense to me.
So far, Hive has been the most comfortable for me.
Hive is dead. Like it was starting to go. It was going great. Then they shut down for 2 weeks and they just never came back. And it's just nothing happens there anymore. So, I hate that Twitter is still the only good place to go. I want to leave it behind so bad. All right. Now that we've had that depressing bit, let's move on to the PlayStation Showcase that happened on the 24th of this week. This is a pretty long list. Some of these we're just going to kind of run through to list off. Some of them we're going to have to stop and gruesomely mock the shit out of them. And then we're just going to fanboy over a couple of them. So starting off, we had Fair Games, which was just a CG trailer. There was a lot of those, by the way, from the studio Haven that Sony bought, and this is their first game. Oh, okay. I'm reading off a note that someone else added.
Yeah, they put out a PR release that they bought the studio, and Haven basically gave them a proof of concept video, and Sony was so impressed that they're like, we think you can make great games. So this is their first one. It's not dogs. I mean, Fair Games.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a multiplayer heist game, as best I could tell. So this is Sony's. They released some other documentation alongside of this. I didn't put all of it in here. I figured we'd talk about it as we go, but they want to have like 60% of their market going in to be these like live games where they're always connected online. And I'm like, I really am not looking forward to that. Yeah, like let's remember that single player games are a thing, people. Next up, with a trailer that I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at when I saw the ridiculous. It reminded me a lot of Starship Troopers with the over the top, but it's Helldivers 2. I might try that one. It looks fun.
I'm so excited. my friends and I played Helldivers 1, which was a
Uh-huh.
PS4 launch title. It was more Diablo camera oriented.
Mm-hmm.
You had a squad of 4 and you just landed on a planet and tried to push back the alien scum. And it was so much fun. And this was my game of the showcase for me. Like, I had at least 3.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But this one was my, like, Chris had me, saw me yell at the screen because I was like, I can't believe they're bringing this guy back.
Well, speaking of that, Chris, if we get to any games that you want to talk about, just raise your hand.
Sure thing.
Loudly raise your hand because I can't see it.
Present.
That's perfect. Next up was Immortals of Avium. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's coming July 20th. Interesting looking FPS, like a magic-based first-person shooter type game.
Hey, good on EA for showing gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I don't know what the hell was going on, but okay. Next up, we had Ghost Runner 2 coming in 2023. Also interesting looking game. Looks like, is this like one of those endless runners where you're killing things?
I don't know if it's exactly an endless runner, but I know the first one was done in like a Diablo style, almost 2D. But
okay, I've
yeah,
heard about it. I just never got a chance to play it. Phantom Blade Zero. Combat looks really well animated. Like it kind of felt like a Souls-like mixed with a Kung Fu movie. Best way I could describe it. I don't know if I'm going to play it, but damn it, it's really good looking.
It's Dark Sifu.
There you go. This one I was really liking. Next up, Sword of the Sea. It's a kind of sand surfing on air with a really nice art style, but it's from the people that made Abzu and Journey, which are both, fantastically looking games, and they always have kind of interesting premises to them in a very artistic style. So I might actually try that one. Next up, we have the Talos Principle 2 for 2023. I keep being told I need to play the first one. I haven't played it yet. 1,
yes, and 2, it's missed, turned up to 11.
Oh, shit. I don't know how I'm gonna. I'm a '90s kid. I don't know how I'm gonna take that. Next up, we had Neva coming 2024 from the makers of Gris. I don't really know anything about the gameplay, but that opening animated cinematic they did was gorgeous.
And it gets you depressed to play their game.
Yeah, it's super sad. Like the thing dies, and you just like you get the puppy version. You're like, come on. All right. Followed up by Cat Quest: Pirates of the Caribbean. Such a silly name.
I have the first 2. They're really good.
Oh, okay, they are.
Yeah, it reminds me of an old school game called Hide Light. So,
hopefully not the Hide Light on Saturn.
No, definitely not that one.
Like, no.
I watched a run through of that. Nope.
Oh, it's terrible. That comes out in 2024. Here's the one that I wanted us to just have a little chat about. This is from Square Enix, and it's Foam Stars. So this is straight up just a Splatoon ripoff. Let's just get that out of the way. Like every little bit of this is a Splatoon ripoff. And I will bet money that eventually we're going to see gameplay where you can hide in the foam you're spraying to move around quicker, just like the squids can turn into, they turn into squids and go through the ink faster. I bet you they were like, let's keep that out of the trailer so we don't really look like Splatoon.
They were doing so well. I mean, it looked just like some kind of usual, like Fortnite-y, microtransaction-y, just pay money to win thing from the very generic characters. And then they started, doing the different color foam. And it's like, why now? There have been three instances of Splatoon over 2 different consoles. The Switch is 7 years old now. Why are we getting foam stars all of a sudden? Also, who is this for? Splatoon was made so people too young to play Call of whatever could play a fun, game. And now we have foam stars, which is apparently the teenage version.
So, I think this is going to be free to play. 1, and I was making a joke to somebody else online, and I said, "Remember, Paint just dries up, but foam evaporates and is gone for good. And that's exactly what's going to happen to foam stars in 1 year.
Ooh.
So I will counter one thing. I agree it should be a free-to-play, but this is Square Enix. They're going to make you pay for it, and then they're going to microtransaction.
I don't know. They had a great success.
Not a great track record
with that Final Fantasy VII Armies of Materia, whatever it was. That's shutting down.
Yeah, anything Final Fantasy related, there are people that will pay for it no matter what. Well, I say that, but then my son actually turned down a figure he wanted because it required to come with an NFT, and he's like, no, I don't want it. Even though it was cheaper. It cost more just to get the NFT. It was cheaper to get the figure.
I swear, if this game lasts... When's this game coming out? Next year?
They didn't have a date for it. Like, there was nothing listed for it because there wasn't even gameplay. It was all CG.
Watch this game like not even last as long as Pac-Man 99. So,
that's sad. That was a good one.
Like that one's gonna shut down before. This is gonna shut down before Pac-Man does.
Seriously. And just remember, folks, this is what Square kept after they sold stuff to make NFTs. That's not good. All right, so this next one surprised the hell out of me, and I really, really want to play this. The Plucky Squire, coming later this year. It started off as like a really nice 2D adventure game in a storybook. Like you can even see the crease on the book and the way the pages folded and everything. And I was like, all right, that's really great. And then they showed him hop out into the real world and start adventuring around on this kid's room and everything going on. And I was like, okay, I'm in. I want this game.
Yeah, this was my game number 2 that I was looking forward to because I remember seeing this at the Devolver Digital event they had last year.
Oh, okay.
And out of all the other weird, artsy, bloody stuff, this was just out of the blue. And I was just like, this looks amazing. It's like Link's Awakening jumping off the page. I was like, what?
Yeah, and they did a really good job. Both forms of it. Like I liked the drawing style of the 2D. Mm-hmm. And then when they went to 3D, it had a really nice visual effect to it as well with particle effects and lighting and everything. So
it looks has a nice twist on a standard story too. So it does look like a lot of fun. Honestly, that was the first thing on the showcase that I was interested in.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Helldivers 2 making me laugh and Immortals of Avium looking interesting, this was the first one that really got me. This is the first one that surprised me because I didn't really have much in the way of the others, but yeah.
I do want to point out for people keeping score on the other side of this podcast that except for the first 2 games, everything else is coming out for Xbox.
Yep. Oh, Helldivers isn't coming out for Xbox?
Helldivers, Arrowhead is actually owned by Sony.
Oh, good point.
Sony-owned companies? Who thought? But yeah.
Yeah. Is the Plucky Squire coming out for Xbox as well?
Xbox and Switch.
I think I'm going to give this on Xbox. It just looks like it needs that extra oomph of the graphical detail. I don't know.
You can actually watch the trailer because they've started posting trailers for each system, and they do it running on that hardware. So if you want to see it running on Switch, and it's got a little muddy look to it, but it looks good.
Hell out of that. When a company will actually put out a trailer showing what each system is for. I don't care if one looks better than the other. If you're honest with me and I can look at it, that means the world to me to be able to look at those and see it.
But yeah, you can watch the Switch one and it'll show you running on Switch if it's rough for you, if you don't like the muddiness of some of the textures. So.
Okay, I respect that. Because it's like even some of these trailers and Microsoft's just as bad about it, where they'll be like, this is running on PC or they're showing it on something. And I'm like, no, I want to see what it's on the console. Like, show me what it can do. Oh, I just got to disconnect and reconnect there. That was weird. All right. Moving on, we have Teardown, which I swear I think this was already a PC game. I've seen this before.
I've watched YouTubers play it, and I'm so excited for it to come to console. It's going right next to my Power Wash Simulator.
It's voxel-based destruction, and I have messed around with it, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm here for stupid destruction. Let's just do it.
It does look like fun.
It's Red Faction meets Minecraft.
I miss Red Faction. That was a fun series. I mean, it got bad, but it was fun at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I think either Embracer Group or THQ Nordic owns it now, so we'll see.
Okay. Who knows?
One of the two.
So the most obvious one that was leaked in so many different ways beforehand, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta. We only got a CG trailer. No gameplay was shown. But even though it says, just PlayStation 5 and so forth, this is coming out for PC and Xbox. They made that very clear after the show. But of course, being the PlayStation one, they want it just to say PS5 or PS4.
What's neat is Delta has 3 sides too.
Yep. Oh, okay. So we have confirmed the original voice cast is returning, huh?
Yep. The Metal Gear official Twitter account said yes, everybody is returning to this one.
Sweet. So we get David.
We don't know if it's re-recorded lines, or if it's just like if it's going to be a straight remake, or if it's going to be something like Resident Evil 4, where there's a lot more new stuff going on. So we'll see.
I have a feeling they're probably going to do that because it looks like if they get anywhere near what the trailer looked like, they've put a lot of work into this. Now, I liked this next announcement, but was kind of confused by it as well.
I did add to it. There's more than meets the eye.
Oh, okay, cool. So the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 coming in autumn of this year. And we haven't, at least I haven't gotten confirmation yet if this is going to other systems or not. They talk about it with the developers, where they said they're currently, the development team are working together to create an environment where fans can experience and enjoy the Metal Gear series on the latest platforms. So we don't know if that's going to cover just like Series X, S, PC, and PS5.
I think the trailer by itself, though, did say Xbox Series X and PC, though. So we're okay.
Okay, I didn't see. I've only seen these trailers.
No, they said at least
showcase.
Xbox. They said at least Xbox, but we don't know about PC or Switch.
Okay. Yeah, because I've only seen these trailers and I didn't have time to watch them individually. I watched it during the showcase. They went on to say, quote, "We will deliver the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection series, the most complete compilation that celebrates the 35th anniversary of the series. The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection allows fans to play the games as they were as first released on the latest platforms. Those include Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater." So you did find confirmation that the MSX versions of MGS...
you will get the MSX versions of Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2.
Mm-hmm.
You will also get the VR missions from Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
And you'll get the HD collection versions of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. So that shows me that they're learning from the Cowabunga collection that did really well.
Yeah.
So that makes me happy. So that gives me more hope that it'll come to platforms that haven't really had these games before.
Because Konami has done really good with the collections, and that's part of why I'm hoping this will come out to Switch, because like Cowabunga collection, we had the Castlevania collection, we had the Advanced collection.
All their collections have come to Switch and Xbox as well. So it's like, okay, what have you got for us?
And it would be kind of nice to be able to get these original Metal Gear Solids on the Switch. I think they'd be a good fit for that.
Nintendo just has Twin Snakes and Metal Gear
3DS
Snake Eater, which is really expensive.
I played that. Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm still playing mine.
Keep it.
Well, I know that one. You could change controls. You could do either the original PS2 version controls if you just played it on 3DS, but then you could get the enhanced version controls with the dual sticks if you had the little attachment for the 3DS. So that was kind of a fun extra. So, but yeah, I'm wondering, I had heard that the HD versions were what they were using or referencing from those from the HD collection. Those had ways to unlock MGS 1 and 2 from the MSX. I'm wondering if they just carried that over, if that's why.
That's probably why they're saying that, because it's just in the HD collection.
Okay. I kind of figured those might be...
What I would like if they went the extra step and made like a UI interface like Cowabunga collection, but we'll see.
That'd be nice. Now, if they ever do a Volume 2, you think we'll finally frickin' see them port Metal Gear Solid 4 to anything other than a PS3?
My guess, ticket in the hat basically for this one is that it'll probably be Metal Gear Solid 4 and Rising, which are the same time period, so to speak. So I would love if they just put those two together. If they wanted to be mean, they could give us Survivor as well. Or Survive, sorry.
No.
No. As fans doing wish lists, people are wanting Acid Collection Ghost Babel and all those other ones, but I doubt
Ghost Babel is so good. Don't sleep on that one. It's a lot of fun. Even for Game Boy Color, it is a legit Metal Gear game. I love it. I still play it. I still have it. So, I could see the second volume. I don't think Survive would ever go on there, just because if they put 4 and Revenge or whatever, Revengeance, those were back on like 360 and PS3. The Switch could probably handle those, so they could do that easier as a collection.
And they could even put like a upscaled 5 too.
Yeah, that was on those generations as well. They'd have to use the older versions, which I don't know if they'd
use
want to
the
do.
PS4.
It was on 360
and came out for PS4 and Xbox One.
It did, but it also came out for 360 and PS3. So if they wanted
interesting, if they
would the Switch do that?
If they make it to Volume 2, then they've gotten further than Sega Smash Pack. So
that's very, very true and very sad. All right, so we got a lot of Metal Gear coming along, and it's not as dire as I thought it would be. Like, it didn't feel like a cash grab. It feels like, hey, we're actually putting some work into this. I am curious though, how much are they going to have to change in these games for either internal references, jokes, maybe even some of the symbols that reference back to Kojima Productions or Kojima himself? Because now that Konami is separated from him, you know, everything they did, they're going to have to go back in and probably strip his name out on these. Or do you think they're going to go through with that?
That's an interesting question, since he is such an integral part of the entire series. Also, you know, what are they going to do going forward? I'm thinking they're hoping to revitalize the series, but it really isn't the same without him.
So I could understand when it came to stuff like GoldenEye having to remove the Nintendo logo in the beginning, spinning around, all that stuff.
Right.
However, I feel for this is they're more going to pull like a Disney / George Lucas thing where he made them. We're just going to keep his name on them. That they'll basically just say, here's a check. We're just going to have your name in the credits. And he's like, okay, I'm still making Death Stranding 2. I'll just leave. Yeah,
it kind of makes me wonder, like, the little Cold War they had going between them, if we're going to make Metal Gear Solid 3 references here. If that's cooled down enough that, you know, they may be like, hey, we don't want to work directly together, but we respect the work you've done and the stuff you did for us. We're going to remake this. We'll keep your name in there as like a thank you, you know, where they have him in there as a special.
I feel for the amount of things that are just basically all his I think it would be the right thing to do. And the amount of time and money you'll save just by giving him a thank you percentage or a thank you residual, it would be fine.
Well, I mean, they took his name out of Metal Gear Solid 5, so it's not that's kind of my basis of like they were still pretty heated at the time. They stripped his name out.
Yeah, but that's a little easier than going back to like a source code of like the very first game.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much of him in all these games.
He's literally in one of them.
I'm thinking that if they've gone this far, then they've probably already done what they need to do. Otherwise,
they're going to change it all to Hideo Kojima.
There you go. No one will be able to tell the difference. I can't believe it's not Hideo.
Pig Latin Hideo Kojima.
There are fans out there that said no Kojima, no buy.
Yeah, there's that too. So, you know, there's going to be a schism, and it's going to be interesting.
So they're all like asking Kojima, will you give your blessing to the remake, or are you going to say it's horrible like Snake's Revenge?
That's true. I think I'm going to get them. If they have a physical release of these, I'm probably going to do it. I like.
So far, Konami Spain said yes. There's a physical Master Collection. So
okay, I can live with that.
But you know, we have things like Amazon Italy that I'll talk about a little bit towards the end.
Okay.
So we have leakers out there.
Nice. All right. Next up, we have Towers of Agaspa. No one said the name, so I don't know if that's right or not. That's 2024. Steven, looks like you put a little note on there, what you named it. I'm going to let you go into that one.
Okay. Watch the trailer, everyone. I don't think they had 6 years to add any physics to it, so I've just been calling it Breath of the Ripoff because everything just looks way too close. And then when you're almost like on the fence, then you see him like collecting materials that drop from defeated enemies and mushrooms, and I was like, all right, come on.
So when they show him jump and open the glider, did your brain just fill in the sound effect from Breath of the Wild? Just
I'm pretty sure that happened to
the sound
everybody.
effect happened the sound effect happened when he picked up the house and everything turned blue hue, and he's moving it over, and I was like, I'm like, come on.
Oh man.
It's not the Ultra Hand, this one's the Mega Hand. Okay.
I'm telling you right now, it's going to be hard for anything not to be Game of the Year for me other than Tears of the Kingdom.
Come on, we've made it this far.
Game of the generation. Okay.
All right, moving on. Final Fantasy 16 coming out June 22nd, as we're already aware. Looks good, but I also still cannot see anything in these trailers or gameplays that fit with their whole no other hardware can run the fighting system. Like,
talking of that,
yes,
this most recent trailer, it was very difficult to really discern what was gameplay and what was cutscene.
Yeah, I could see that.
So much was happening with the, do they call them espers? Do they call them eidolons? The summons, whatever the hell they are. We don't know if there are going to be kaiju fights. We don't know if it's going to be QTE. But so much of the trailer was focused on, behold what we can do. And they never said, behold what you can do. And that's going to be interesting.
That's a good point.
This game, like watching this latest trailer, seemed to, like, the further you got in the trailer, the busier it got, and all was just like, is this Vampire Survivor in 3D? Because there's so much going on, I don't know where I am or who I am. Am I Ifrit? Or Ifrit?
Am I characters just look?
Am I little guy? Like, what's going on?
Like, I know they were talking about the issue with the lack of diversity of characters, but it's kind of getting to be an issue here. Like, everybody's just, I'm sure there's some little details that make everybody different, but I'm like, yeah, they all just kind of blend together after a while. Like
that, and the story is starting to kind of creep up on itself, where it's that whole, the hero is hated for blah de blah, bucking the system and changing the status quo. I'm like, oh, okay, this again, goody.
Yeah, I'll probably just play it when Jeremy gets it, because I know he's going to get it, so I'm going to let him pay for it. I'll just borrow his copy.
Ooh.
Hey, it's fair. I have a whole freaking library of games here he can have access to. I think I can borrow one Final Fantasy game on occasion.
I'll wait for the PC version.
No, you won't.
Can your PC run it?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Is there a pixel remaster version?
Oh God. All right, so this next one I'm actually very excited for, and also have a little bit of disappointing announcement for it as well. Alan Wake 2 coming out October 17th of this year, which is perfect timing for Halloween. So that's going to be a fun thing to play. Remedy Entertainment making this one again. Looks phenomenal. Like, I love Alan Wake. I didn't play American Nightmare too much. I have it, but I didn't mess with it too much. But the main story, like, this was a Father's Day gift that Amanda and the kids got me. So I got the collector's edition that actually comes out, and it's one of his books. And you can open it and flip the pages, and then that opens, and the games and stuff are in there. And it's got all of his writings from the game as an actual book. And
classic.
It's a really nice collector's edition. It's one of my more cherished ones. So I'm looking forward to playing this. But they did announce there will be no physical release as a way to kind of save on production. So it will be digital only. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, limited run, super rare. Well, probably limited run be the one to do it now that they're doing
I think
Xbox.
so.
To just slide in there and give me a limited release. I'll pay extra to get a physical copy of this game. Like, I would be willing to do it.
Yeah, the reason I think so is only because, they've worked with people who've been close to Epic before, and because this is Epic Games Publishing, which I don't know the last thing they've published and distributed. So I don't think they had somebody to make a physical. So they're like, we'll just save money and cut out that person. But then if somebody approaches them and says, we'll take on the overhead of doing pre-orders for this or something like that, or put it together the interest, then they'll go from there. Because, they helped with that, with Cliffy B's first foray into live service games with Lawbreakers. And so limited run games tried to make a physical of that, and that crashed and burned. But
Right.
So we'll see.
I'm hoping, I'm going to get this regardless. And it seems like the type of game that I'll get digitally to enjoy. And if a physical becomes available, I will double dip. I'll go ahead and do that now to get it. Especially if I can get it in a book and put it there with it. That'd be great. I did something similar with the Medium. I don't remember if you remember that one from beginning of this generation.
Yeah.
I liked that game. It's actually one of the ones I streamed the entire thing online. So you can actually go to my YouTube channel and actually see the whole game as we went through it. I really enjoyed it, but it was digital only at the time. It released on PS5 later on, and then they finally came out with a physical copy that I need to pick up. So I'm hoping that's the case. Maybe later on, once they make up if it sells well enough digitally, they can fund, a certain amount of the discs being made. So we'll see. I mean, I think we might get to a point where it's more digital only releases, and then maybe they can have a service where they can do, you could one-off order a disc and have it produced or something. That might be where this eventually goes.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Assassin's Creed Mirage coming out October 12th, 2023. It looks like this is supposed to be one of the smaller Assassin's Creeds, especially after the last few have been kind of prohibitively just massive. I haven't gotten into them because I just keep seeing how much they have in there, and I'm like, that's a lot.
Ubisoft, if you're listening to this podcast, this is your chance to include a Prince of Persia skin because of the location and because you've delayed Prince of Persia Remake to some other year.
That's why they won't do it. They don't want you to remember that they're working on it.
Yeah.
Just like Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh, God, don't remind me. I love that game.
That's what Ubisoft is saying.
So, Assassin's Creed Mirage, I think that is also helping me publish with Epic. So, it's not going to be available on Steam, if I remember correctly, if I was reading it correctly. So, which means this seemed like it'd be a good game for Steam Deck, but I guess it won't be available on that. I could be incorrect. I'll look more into that. This one's coming out October 12th, so we'll get to try it there.
Well, I mean, this is for now. Who knows what happens later?
Yeah, things can change all the time with it. It looked fun. It looked like the older Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, which I'm like, I could go back and play a little bit of that. It's been long enough. Why not? So, let's do it. Next up, we had Revenant Hill. This one took a turn. It's a cute little trailer with a cat that catches a mouse, and you see him running on. He's passing by construction workers and people, and you're just like, oh, that's cute. And then it passes by a dead, a standing skeleton working with somebody, and you're like, okay, this is getting to be a little darker. And then finally, at one of the last scenes they go by, there's a protest going on. You see people with signs protesting. And right as the cat goes away, you see 3 guys with rifles take aim to shoot the protesters. Nothing is said of it. They just move on with the cat. And I'm like, holy shit, guys. That just took a turn. What the hell?
That was quite a night in the woods.
Yes, right, and that's exactly why I knew it was going to get there. It was that cat looked exactly like the Night in the Woods cat. And if you've played that game, it was just as dark and creepy. So the thing with when I watch these trailers, the same thing happened with Sword of the Sea. The first thing I notice is the art style. And I basically pegged Sword of the Sea as Journey 2 immediately. So when I saw Revenant Hill, I'm like, oh, this has something to do with Night in the Woods. It can't be Night in the Woods 2 because that had an anthropomorphic cat instead of a 4-legged one. And then we had the protesters and the skeletons. I'm like, there's our company. There we go.
I have not played that game. Is it one you think you would recommend?
You do like heady and narrative games. It's how to put this.
It
It's
seems
a lot.
games.
It's basically a mix between a coming of age story in the
Uh-huh.
modern time, and have you ever heard of SCP?
I'd have to look. There's so many different acronyms for SCP that I'm not sure.
SCP is basically it's an internet-based horror story wiki where people come up with like creepy pastas and horror
Oh,
stuff. Like
okay.
imagine like have you ever played Control?
Um,
Uh-oh.
I just picked this up yesterday, so I could play the
Ah,
ray trace version. So I will be
okay.
playing it.
So play Control. That is essentially what the SCP Bureau is. It's essentially uh, a it's a foundation like the FBI, which is
Mhm.
essentially it's the FBI mixed with the X-Files. Basically, there's a whole bunch of weird crap going on. We're gonna help you pretend that everything is normal. And Night in the Woods has just that little bit of coming of age and there's something not right happening.
It kind of feels like this would be a good one for Steam Deck. If
I think
I'm
so too. I think so
okay,
too. I think
I
you'd
think I
enjoy
would
it.
play it more on that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that one. Remind me later, and I'll pick that one up.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
give it a
so it
go.
Revenant Hill is made by the same company, and
Oh,
while
perfect.
there's no sign of gameplay, they're pretty much showing their cards that this is going to be supernatural
I just
and provocative
I like the
immediately.
supernatural side. I just did not see like, oh, there's a protest, and I had to rewind it. Like I stopped and rewound, going like, did did I just see what I think I saw? As soon as
Well,
they cocked the guns, I was like, oh, okay.
yeah. Well, Night in the Woods is not going to be as direct about it,
Uh-huh.
but it is going to be. It deals with heavy topics, and I
Okay.
think that's what this company is known for.
Nice. All right, I'll give that a go. All right. Next up, we had Grand Blue Fantasy Relink coming in winter 2023, and I just said this sure is some kind of anime style. Just,
Yeah, it's side games.
that's their thing.
That's their bread and butter. And back when they made Dragalia Lost for Nintendo for mobile, the art style was all over that one too. And then in their other games they have, like you can just pull it out there. It's like, okay, I told him it's easy to point out because the very minimalistic noses, like it's just like a little triangle or it's like a slash, and otherwise some characters are so fast and like, where's your nose?
It didn't render. Oh, that's great.
Well,
But yeah, I
Grand
think
Blue
people
Fantasy.
will eat this up. It's basically Xenoblue Chronicles, so it's like, all right.
What
Well,
was
the
that, Chris?
thing is, Grand Blue Fantasy is huge in Japan as a mobile game. It just never reached that kind of popularity in the States.
Mm.
And the only thing most people have seen about it is the fighting game. So we're very late in the game, as it were. Grand Blue is huge elsewhere. We're still just experiencing it now.
This seems something that my boys will probably try. I because Jeremy has a PS5 now, so I could see him getting this and giving it a go.
It
He
looks
bought
like
his
your
own.
standard cookie cutter RPG, but that's not necessarily bad.
It seems like something he would enjoy. Like even if it's cookie cutter, sometimes cookie cutter games are good. Like you just want to chill out and play something that's just entertaining.
No, there is that. Yeah,
Yeah.
even if you know what's coming, it's fun. That's Dragon Quest all over.
There you go. You kind of know what you're getting into. So next up, Street Fighter 6. We've already talked about this. We already know that we're going to be getting it on different systems for PS5, for
I'll look
Series
into the
X, for the
crossplay
PC that
for
can't
us.
possibly run Final Fantasy 16. We'll all give you our opinions on it.
So I'm going to show
Yeah.
up at your place and delete what you just said. But aside from that,
Yeah, this one just covered more of the story because there's a pretty deep story of telling you what happened to everybody. So it's pretty sweet.
I am really intrigued by the mode where you're just kind of going around and be like, hey, I don't know who you are, but let's fight. Like just in the middle of the street.
Play the demo. Like the demo allows you to do all that, and it's hilarious.
Okay.
The demo's still available. It's not like the beta, but
Right.
the demo is really quick unless you make it longer for yourself.
Okay. Next up, we had Ultros coming in 2024. Really trippy and colorful art style, but it kind of seems like with the way the trailer restarted itself in the gameplay, this is yet another roguelite side scroller shooter. and those can be fun. I do enjoy them, but I think I'm starting to get kind of burned out. Like there's so many of these that keep coming out. You've got different takes on them, which have been a lot of fun, like Hades and a few of the other ones, but I'm hoping this one has something fun that kind of separates it. Does that make sense?
That's fair. That's totally fair. To me, it felt more like a possible Metroidvania with the
I'd be down with
idea
that.
of you figuring out what's going on. I felt the style was a little too, in the like your older televisions where you take the contrast knob and you turn it all the way up. That's how I felt. It's too oversaturated. And I feel that might stop a bunch of people from playing. But because I like the style,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to pick it up.
If it's a Metroidvania, I think I would definitely be in as well. The only thing that made me really worry and think it's another roguelike where you're going to die and start over again is the fact that's what happens in the trailer. I think it's a she. That's what I'm going to refer to as such. But she dies or gets beat, and then it shows her waking back up in the exact same spot again. And I was like, am I going to be restarting here?
So I had to look up the name, but I know where I've felt that type of kind of almost marionette type animation style, and it's a game called Apotheon that came out back in the 360 days. Apotheon.
Really?
Because Apotheon used like the art that was always on the walls of like talking about Greek gods and Roman gods,
of pottery and stuff.
Holy and crap, had you also explore everywhere and fight giant things. So it reminds me of this, but now you've taken acid or something.
I need to have a friend of mine, Joey, watch this trailer. He is colorblind for blue and green, and I'm I don't know how this cacophony of color, what it's going to do to him. Like, I just, what doesn't make sense still, It
makes me wonder if there's going to be an accessibility mode or a grayscale mode.
I really hope so. I know if it comes out on something like the Switch, you can set it that way automatically. There's built-in settings, but I've never actually looked into that for other consoles, so it's a good point. All right, next up, they showed Tower of Fantasy, which for some reason got misspelled to Fantasty. Anime numbers on screen game. It just, you get those fights where all these thousands of damage or whatever shows up, and it's just like, okay.
That trailer annoyed me.
I'm gonna use that as a buzzword. That's not only great. That's fantastic.
The thing is, I was waiting throughout the entire thing for one character to speak, to give one iota of dialogue. And when it didn't happen, my brain just kept saying, MMO, MMO, third-rate MMO, third-rate, fourth-rate MMO. Yeah, there's no story to this thing. They put a bunch of waifus and polygons and mechs and said, hey, otaku geeks, check this action out.
Dinner's served.
Exactly. Fantasty.
And we brought the joke around, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that's great. We have to remember that one. I may have to clip that just to keep re-saying that, because you say it, Chris, so well.
It's gonna be a soundbite. You're gonna press a button. Fantasty. Fantasty.
Oh, face for radio. What can I tell you?
There we go. Yeah. Elon's trying to get people to colonize you. For those wondering, you're going to see his animated face on the screen for the video version, but during this call, he's just a little globe and looks like Mars. That's why we make that joke.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Jeremy.
Next up, we had Dragon's Dogma 2, originally a series from the PS3 and Xbox 360 from Capcom, which was actually fun. I enjoyed it. So
I'm hoping that your helper is no longer just a CPU and can be a co-op and can be another player.
We're well into the point it should be.
We're in the network infrastructure now that is entirely possible.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have Congress asking, does the Wi-Fi connect? But, whatever, sure.
This game completely passed me by, so I have no idea what to expect.
It was interesting. I think I'm curious to see if they can kind of recapture. Like, it was really good during that time period, and it got a re-release variation on Xbox One and PS4. So for some crowds, and they even ported it over to the Switch, and it was supposed to be a pretty good one. So it's stuck around more than I kind of even I realized.
Yeah, I always felt it like a medieval Monster Hunter light.
Huh.
That's a good description. That's a very good description.
Because you can climb on the chimera's tails and stuff like that to get on them when they're trying to fly and bring them down to Earth. So you can do a lot of interactions a la Monster Hunter, but there's just a lot more to it that kind of helps it drift apart. That's why I kind of call it a medieval time light, because they're taking away a lot of stuff but adding a little bit more substance elsewhere.
You can really tell from the creature design, especially when the dragons show up, they very much feel like a Rathalos or some of those from Monster Hunter, because they're from that same house.
Yeah,
that's why for a split second I thought it was a Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Oh, may give that a try. All right.
Yeah, you might enjoy it. It's actually not bad. All right. After that, they were showing off Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 coming late 2023.
Just in time for the movie, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how that's going to go. All right, now here we had the run of PlayStation VR 2 games that they were pushing, because Sony is still trying to make this a thing, and I don't think it's going to work out until they drop that cost. Like, I'm sorry, the headset costing that much more than the actual console you have to buy to play it, and you don't allow it to have PC connectivity, you're asking too much.
Yeah, Sony likes making accessories that are only compatible with an expensive item.
As we'll see, they're great at making accessories.
Foreshadowing.
Well, what kills me though, PSVR 1, I recommended that to a lot of people because I thought it was a very well-priced entry-level VR for people to get into and try it out. The controls weren't the best and everything. I know they've enhanced and done a lot with this one, but like, they had a good idea with that, and you could hook it up onto a computer eventually.
But the variety, you had everything from Job Simulator to Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes. You had
I
Moss.
love that game.
You have Moss Book 1 and Book 2, which I love the Moss series.
Yep.
You even had the Vader VR, which was very well done too. So they had a lot going for it.
I played Resident Evil 7 exclusively on PSVR. I never played it outside of that because that game was terrifying in first person. Like, just trying to survive in that house while that family's running you down. No, I'm good. That scared the crap out of me.
But for all our listeners, anytime you watch any of Sony's PSVR offerings, if you are of age, please do a drinking game and take a drink every time the VR involves guns.
Oh boy. Make sure you are near a hospital.
You are a hospital.
Resident Evil 4 VR mode, which we kind of knew this was coming out. This is for the remake, which Resident Evil 4 on the Oculus, it's a port of the original Resident Evil 4 done in VR, is actually really good. So I can 100% see this being fun.
Plus, this one having that dual wield was great. So, I'd look forward to this one, just not for $600 just yet.
Yeah. I want to get one of these headsets, but I also want to pay that much. Arizona Sunshine 2 coming later this year. That one I played a little bit on the Quest 2.
Okay, so the first one was on the Quest?
Yeah, it was on the Quest 2. At least I think it was on the Quest as well.
Because Chris and I had the same reaction when we saw this. They're like, there was a one?
Yeah, I remember this one because I love zombie games. Like, I have a lot of fun with those. And it was kind of silly. This trailer was so weird, the fact he was obsessed with every one of them being Fred. I thought they kind of played that up a little bit too much, and the game never looks as good as the CG trailer did. You're not going to be messing with the head going blah, 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 all that stuff. It's not happening.
What about slapping him with the arms? If I can't do that, no buy.
I hope so. God, that's great. Crossfire Sierra Squad, which is, honestly, this is them working on a Call of Duty replacement, I guess, as a, that's what it kind of feels like, but it's for
So whenever I hear that
VR.
term, do you remember all those games that came out for PS3 and 360 that were like, I don't know, like Team Warfare Afghanistan, Team Warfare, and it was like all published by a company like Mastiff Games or something like them.
Yeah.
And they were all just the same game, and I'm like, don't use this title, guys. Please change it. It sounds so generic.
Yeah, Crossfire is actually, I think, a pretty popular shooter series, so it makes sense that it's doing that. And I think that's also been released, or at least an earlier version, on other
Didn't
VR
Crossfire
headsets.
X come out as a Xbox exclusive,
Yeah,
changing the
with the story
landscape
mode.
of gaming as we know it, and it didn't?
Yeah, it just died. Synapse coming July 4th. Uh,
So
it's a roguelite.
the only the only interesting thing I have to say about this game here
Mm-hmm.
is if you go back and listen to it, and I'm looking online to kind of get a confirmation.
Sound like
We
Hater.
I know Jennifer. Yeah, I know Jennifer Hale's the main character because she gave the thumbs up on Twitter that she's in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the other one you can hear David Hayter throughout. Especially
Okay, so it
when
wasn't just me. Thank God.
no, it's not, because when he's just like, "I'll take you down," I was just like, "Kept you waiting, huh?" I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, I was like, is this gonna pop up and all of a sudden it's like Metal Gear VR, like the VR missions? Which why are they making that? I would get that. Like, let me do the VR missions in actual VR. Come on. Chris is saying nothing.
I admit I've never been one into Metal Gear. I've always been more
Fair
of the
enough.
run screaming at the enemy type of person. So I can't even play the stealth part of Wind Waker. So the thing is, though, the lore is great, so I like watching other people play it.
The lore is confusing. Let's be honest
That
here.
too.
And then finally, Beat Saber, which is available on just about everything. So I'm glad to see it coming out to this because that is a surprisingly fun game. And then the Queen Music Pack is available, which I'll have to look and see if that popped up on my Quest because I like Queen. So
Rest in peace, whoever was not prepared to mute that when they were streaming their reactions.
Ooh.
oh, I hope
Because
your
Queen
accounts
is very litigious when it comes to their music. So if they hear it, they're like, "What have you done?"
Yes. So now we come to probably one of my more surprising and disappointing announcements that's game related. We'll get to hardware in a little bit. But Marathon is coming back from Bungie, which Marathon was a great and interesting first person series from Bungie before they made Halo. They re-released those on 360. I have them as Xbox Live Arcade games. And they did an issue with them where it's one of the few games with the way the head movement was so quick, it actually made me sick. But the game was fun once I tweaked that. So I was like, cool, they're bringing that back. This could be great. And then I find out, oh, okay, no, it's a live service shooter. What have they done? Like, this is not Marathon.
I will hand it to him that now it's coming to light that the original trilogy has been released for free. It's source code and everything else.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To download on PC, as well as all their fan-made variations. So they're definitely getting it out there that, there's a lot of Marathon to, take in. So that's nice.
I can't be the only one that I see like the attention to detail they put into this. I would rather have seen that go into that cyberpunk style story that the world they were building that, eventually led to Halo. They could have expanded that and made a really good game. And I feel like it's going to be wasted on an eventually dead multiplayer shooter that eventually will just go away. You can never be able to play it again. People can't just kick up servers all the time to keep it going. So it's kind of disappointing seeing something finally come back after all this time just to be stuck in that situation. It's a monkey's paw. We got the game back, but it's a live service. Like, damn it.
Yeah, that's always a real kick in the teeth when you see an old favorite come back and they go, "Oh, but it's a microtransaction fueled blah de blah," or something like that. Oh well, that's unfortunate. It looked nice at least, but
it looks great. That's what I'm saying. Like, their art style and everything they did, I would have played the hell out of a single player. With they can still do a multiplayer aspect to it. Give me a good story, but making it a live service game pretty much kills any chance of that. And it puts a clock on this. Eventually this game will be dead,
How ironic. Live service means that you're giving it a lifespan.
Yeah.
Speaking of dead.
Yep. Destiny 2, The Final Shape was shown off with Nathan Fillion returning as Cade. I guess they're bringing him back. They're doing an entire Destiny showcase, not state of play, uh, coming on 8/22/2023. So this August, we'll find out more about Destiny 2 if you're still playing that.
I have friends who still play Destiny, so
I enjoyed
that,
it, but I just can't get back into it, I guess. This confused me. Concord, coming 2024. This is from Studio Firewalk that Sony also bought, their first game as well. Okay, that explains a lot. Thank you for that.
And if you want to laugh, if you pull up both press releases from both the purchase of Haven and the purchase of Firewalk, they basically just copied and pasted the wording from both of them and changed just the names to protect the innocent. And they said, "Oh, we saw a proof of concept video from Firewalk and we loved it, so we bought their company." I was like, okay. I was like, is Sony the president of Spatula City? Like what's going on? I loved your product so much, I bought the company. Like, what?
Yeah, I really hope that both of these companies gave a nice bonus to their video editors. Like, hey, you got us purchased. Here, have a bonus. Like, all I did was work in there. What?
I was like, all you did was show them CGI and proof of concept. Okay.
Right.
Do what? Do good.
Okay. I have no idea what's going on. Nothing tells you what the gameplay is. I'm just like,
yeah.
All right, you gave me a name.
That trailer was confusing because all it looked like was a loading screen for Mass Effect. And I was like, what's going on?
The way they kept showing ridiculous stuff, like what that cheeseburger looking thing in a locker and stuff, I was like, it's so ridiculous. I thought it was going to be like some kind of weird like space comedy game. I was like,
yeah, for people who forget the name of the game, it's the Jiggly Cheeseburger game.
Yeah, that one.
That trailer did make me hungry.
Made me question how fresh could that food actually be. It's in an uncooled locker, open, just sitting there.
Maybe it was unfreeze dried or rehydrated, like Back to the Future 2.
Okay.
In space, no one can see you expire. I don't know.
Oh, Lord. Next up, they showed Gran Turismo movie trailer coming out in August. It's a racing movie. Good for you.
It's a movie. Yeah. Which one's going to do better, Gran Turismo or Need for Speed?
This Gran Turismo without internet will probably still work. So at least that's an update. Yeah, you'll get more gameplay out of this if you're watching it offline than you will the actual game.
Or will it be as short as Gran Turismo Sport?
Who knows? At least the cars might look better. I had so many hopes for Gran Turismo 7 until they did stupid online.
Before we get to the next thing, I wish Sony would make some hardware that could compete with Nintendo Switch. Monkey paw. Okay.
Yeah. So, to tie in with what we're about to announce, Sony released a couple of statements and charts that tried to claim and show that they were the market leader for all of gaming and that Nintendo had no significant advancements or good games and all this stuff in the last 8 years. And they showed this bar that was just almost a straight line, that Nintendo hadn't done anything new, completely ignoring the existence of the Switch, the two highest selling Zelda games they've ever made, including the one that is kicking everyone's ass in the stores right now. You know, the fact that they had one of the highest, it's now I think the third highest grossing animated film of all time so far with the Mario movie, and it's still going. The Switch itself, which is now I think
7 years old.
It's third place for the highest selling console, or maybe second place now. I think it finally overtook the Game Boy.
It's almost there, yeah.
Or the DS. The DS was the next one.
The DS and the PlayStation 2, I think they have to beat.
They beat those. They take the record. Like, they're doing all this stuff, and they keep trying to push this narrative like Nintendo isn't anything and they don't count. And they were part of the ones that pushed the regulators with the Microsoft stuff to take Nintendo out of the running, to say they're not competition, so that all the statistics were skewed to show just Microsoft and Sony. So, of course, they're constantly copying their stuff while they're doing this. It's like that kid in school that picks on, the other kid, but then takes all their things to try and be like, see, I've got it. Copy their homework. So they announced Project Q, That's the only name they've given this thing so far.
Oh, is that thing I used to play DVDs on my GameCube and it's silver?
Right.
Oh, no, that's Panasonic Q. Okay, never mind. Go on. Carry on.
I'm going to call this the PS5U. That is the name I will give it now. Supposedly coming out this year, even. So I guess we'll get announcements later for cost and so forth.
The price of a PSVR 2. No, I hope not.
Oh, my God. That's what I'm afraid of. I do not see this thing going for less than like 120.
Well, how much did the NVIDIA Shield go for?
I think it was like 100. Well, no, it was more than that.
Sony will definitely charge more than that.
Yeah. So the Project Q is basically a PS5 DualSense controller split in half, and then they used Ultra Hand from Tears of the Kingdom to just stick those onto the side of an 8-inch screen, and that's their new handheld. Cool.
It's not even a handheld, though. It
you
cannot
hold it in
be
your
used
hands.
by... Okay, fair. If we're speaking literally. But
Right.
you can't use it without owning a PS5 first. It's a worthless monitor. It's a chew toy if you don't own a PS5 first.
Tell us how you really feel.
Things. Okay, the PS5 controller, I like it. I honestly do. It's interesting, and I like it better than the PS4 and the PS3 controllers. I didn't like any of the PlayStation controllers since the PS2. So, but it has shit batteries. Like, it dies so fast for PS5 with all that stuff. So now you're going to cut that in half and put an 8-inch touchscreen, HD touchscreen in the middle of it. That battery life, what the hell? Like, that thing's going to have to be thicker on that screen to have a giant battery in the back to have it be anything reasonable. Or else you're going to be stuck plugged into the wall the whole time. And at that point, you might as well be plugged into the damn PS5. So this is their new portable, their new handheld or whatever, but it only works on Wi-Fi. There's no cellular or anything else. Has to be on a Wi-Fi network. It cannot play any games or have any games installed to it. It's just a dumb screen. It has to have the PS5 to have the games installed to be able to stream and play from that. This is literally a dumber version of a Wii U. And the Wii U, at least, because the controller was always there, some developers tried new things with it. It had a purpose. This is just an accessory that I think everyone's going to forget about in a month.
And this one, they're basically doing Wi-Fi streaming because they said it's for remote play only.
Yeah. Which they already made deals with Backbone and have controllers that clip onto your phone where you can do that even on a cell service. So that this actually has less options than the already probably cheaper Backbone that works on your phone. So
I mean, it's still early.
Yeah, when I saw it, I even looked over by Chris and I was just like, "Teacher, where does the touchpad go now? Because the touchpad's usually just used as another button. So where did you put it?"
Yeah, the touchpad is probably the screen.
Maybe they'll get the Vita stuff back, and it's on the back now.
And that's bad because when you play certain games, you're pressing the touchpad a lot to like access different types of menus or maps. So it's like, okay.
It just feels like they show that and they show foam stars in the same thing, and they're just like, "Look, we're hip, we're with it." We're totally not. By the way, Nintendo doesn't exist, but check this out.
Yeah, you can now play our knockoff Splatoon on our knockoff Wii U. That's only streaming. That's probably going to run terribly, depending on your home network.
Hey, boss, what do you want me to do with all these parts from the canceled Vita XL?
Oh,
I have an idea.
And this came out after Stadia already failed, so
yeah. And Stadia, you could. And that's the worst thing. Like Stadia, you could play that as long as you had an internet connection, whether it was cellular, Wi-Fi, or Ethernet. This is Wi-Fi only and has to connect to a particular system.
It is definitely a NVIDIA Shield in terms of functionality.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of hardware this is going to have in it or what they're going to be able to do with this, but You know, the fact you cannot install or do anything by itself, even if this thing would just run PS1 games you could download to it, that would at least be something. You know, that would be like, hey, this is a controller for these things, but hey, I can play, you know, Symphony of the Night on it or something. Never, it's not going to happen at all. But because it requires the PS5 hardware, you already, you know, because like on Xbox, you can stream games. I don't like to do it, but one of my coworkers was doing it for a while, and he could just pull it up while he was at work, and it was games he didn't have installed. He just could play them because it was streaming. This can't do that. That's, if it could do that, I'm like, okay, then you could buy that, and that could be a whole portable PS5 for somebody that doesn't want to buy the whole hardware, but use it for something. It is definitely
a hurtful and depressing missed opportunity, especially knowing that with PS Premium you got PS1 games and PS2 games, and you could stream PS3 games. So to have PS1 through 5 and they could make it work
I just had
portably,
a nightmare scenario.
Would have been fantastic, but they missed the the bus.
This is going to happen, and I want you to think about how bad this is going to be, and then I want to just hear your reactions to it. Someone's going to have this on their home, probably have it connected with a shitty 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which is so overpopulated, it's going to be sluggish. Connecting to their PS5, which they pay for the ultimate version, to then stream Metal Gear Solid 4 on PS3 because you can't actually play it. So they're streaming to a system to stream to a handheld and try and play the game that way.
Well, Sony's the leader in cloud gaming, so.
Oh, check out that smooth frame rate. Right.
That's going to be some artifacting. So many artifacts.
With Project Q, all your PlayStation games will run like Redfall.
Oh, I don't know if it'd be that bad. And that's the thing. Like, they're going to be streaming from a console to then stream from something else. Like, if this thing can't even stream that, like, why can't it connect directly and stream that PS3 game? Like, what would be the difference to stop that, you know? But apparently it can't do it. That's just so weird to me.
It's still early. It's a, proof of
It's coming
concept.
out this year.
Oh, damn. All right.
Ain't no proof of concept. They have the box ready to go.
There was nothing there. What are they giving us?
Yeah, I thought it was that too until he actually said coming this year. I was like, oh my God, Jim Ryan said that. What the hell, man?
Never mind.
Yeah, sorry, Chris.
Forefront of technology, don't forget.
So now that we've shit on that a lot, deservedly, well, the next thing they showed, they had PS5 earbuds. Okay, they made headsets. That's cool, I guess. I mean, they're supposed to do the 3D audio. Headphones I'm not worried about, and they're not exactly rocking my world. I've got Skull Candies that I like, and I have Astros that I play with, and I'm good.
Not for nothing. This is for a specific type of gamer.
Agreed.
The same way if Nintendo was like, we have earbuds and they look like 1-ups, we would get them. It's like it's geared towards the specific players.
I understand why they made them. I see the market for them. I can see people enjoying and using them. They have a purpose. I don't get why this Project Q exists.
It's so you can use the earbuds with it.
It looks more ridiculous than something Q would actually make in a 007 movie. Okay.
It's so you can use the PS5 earbuds to listen to the game you're playing on Project Q in the same room as somebody's watching television. That's power. Or you can just pick up your Nintendo Switch and immediately play.
I want to make one more comment about this before we move on. I got into an argument with somebody over in Kotaku because they made the statement and I had to respond to this. They actually argued that this will be replacing their Switch because this would be faster for them to just get up and go to their room to keep playing a game. And everyone, including myself, are going, you can just pick up the Switch. I'm like, yeah, I have to walk over there and get it. You just don't turn off your TV? Like, do you not consider how long this is going to take to connect to your console every time? Like if you're just streaming with it like crazy while watching the TV, the battery life's going to die unless you're plugged in the whole time. But somebody actually, a human being, I think it's a human being. This could be AI bullshit. I don't know.
Hey, don't put this on us.
Tried to argue that just getting up and picking up a Switch was so inconvenient that somehow this was better.
It's,
you can't defend this.
But people are going to.
I know.
It happens all the time. Essentially, everybody who was, laughing at the Wii U is suddenly going to look through their notes and say, oh no, this is actually a good thing because Sony's doing it.
And I love the Wii U.
It's the PU right now.
God, I didn't think about just getting rid of the S5 and just calling it PU. That's great.
Wait for it.
So, I defended the Wii U. I liked the Wii U. As I showed earlier, right over there, I have a whole freaking store display, the entire collection of every one of the physical games, multiple of the systems. We used it for a lot of the stuff. I know it had problems, but at least it had a purpose. It had good things come out of it. So,
that person who was arguing, I know that type from working at game stores and managing one, and I love those people because then when they would come in and be like, "Do you have a copy of Metroid Prime 4?" and I say, "It's not out yet. We don't even have a trailer." And they're like, "I saw it at Target," and I said, "If you buy it from Target and you bring it to me, I will give you 10 times the trade-in value as long as it's Metroid Prime 4." And they're like, "Okay." I'm like, "I'll never see you again."
Yeah,
that person who's putting out that argument will probably do the same thing. You'll never see them again because they're gonna be like, "I can't go back there." They thought I was touting this as the next Switch.
Yeah, I hope to be on a plane while I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, looking over at someone else, wondering why doesn't this work now? It's portable. Like, why can't I play it? So, all right. So, moving on from the worst thing Sony has done in a while to a game that had me incredibly excited because I want to play this. I absolutely love the previous ones. Spider-Man 2 coming fall of 2023. We have Kraven the Hunter, and not just as like a little cameo bit or just thrown in there. They seem to be putting a whole good story, which I loved how they did this with the different villains in the last two games, where they actually involved them in different ways. They had their own story threads going through it. But during that, there was like a little pop-up. He was looking at a map at people to hunt. And we had references to Black Cat, Prowler, Wraith, Tombstone, both the Spider-Mans, Lizard, Taskmaster, Kingpin, and I think that was Shocker. There was only like 1 or 2 frames he was there, but it looked like Shocker as Kraven's prey, possibly. The map was greatly expanded. They added Queens and a bunch of other parts of the city, so it's not just main New York now. It's expanded out, which is great. The symbiote suit was shown off, and they took a much more organic look to it. Like, it's still the black and white suit Spider-Man, but it looks more moving and alive. Kind of like, it looks weird, which is
it
good.
Looks more Venom movie.
Yeah, but it's not quite like trying to be that. Like, it's still got bits of the Spider-Man suit. It's an interesting take. I know they're going to have the normal black suit will probably be available. Like, they're really good about shoving all those different costumes in there, which is fantastic. But I like this take on it. I really do.
It is neat. It's especially good. I've seen this take before, that for the first time, because of Miles Morales, we're actually Miles Molars. We're actually seeing someone kind of in real time watching Peter go from regular to black symbiote Peter. So he's like, even in the end of that trailer, is just like, no, this is not usual. And we get to see that happening, which is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, and we got very angry Peter in this gameplay trailer.
What I like to call voiced by Fury Lowenthal.
He's trying to be the next Batman.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the whole point of the symbiote. That's why he gets rid of it later. So maybe it'll have to be Miles that convinces Peter to let go, which is interesting.
I
And
would not be surprised, given like his electrical abilities, if you don't have to take Peter down as Miles. Like,
Yeah,
I
like
would be there for that fight. That'd
if
be
you have to
great.
electrocute something that either goes on fire or something just to cure Peter.
yeah, the other thing is I think it's sound. So you might have to, as Miles, you might have to cause some like real big booms like thunder or turn on speakers to, because I think it's either high pitched or loud that
Um,
causes the symbiote to go nuts.
for the symbiotes, it's fire and loud noises.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, with electricity, Miles has access to both of those. So
Yeah.
there's probably going to be a cool Spidey versus Spidey fight happening eventually.
And I feel they would do a good job with it. I really think they would pull that off because
It is Insomniac, so
yeah, they have not done anything wrong with the Spider-Man games as far as I can tell. Like that was one of the first games I ever platinumed on a PlayStation game. PlayStation was the Spider-Man game. Then I did it for Miles. Then I did it again on the for the re-releases. They're just so much fun to play. So I'm here for these. So yeah, definitely picking those up. Yeah. All right, so that was surprisingly took us a little while going through the PlayStation stuff we had there.
That show was an hour and a half, so that's understandable.
It was, yeah. So let's move on to the next ridiculous thing that we've got. And you guys pointed this out to me, and I just couldn't believe it. And then you pointed out the other half of it, and I really am just confused. So you guys got me playing Power Wash Simulator, which is basically like saying, hey, take a hit of this. It'll be fine. It's only really addictive.
It'll relax you, man.
Yeah, it's got Lara Croft Mansion that you can clean. And then there's also, some Final Fantasy VII stuff. And now there's
You want to take another hit?
SpongeBob
Yeah, that's
SquarePants.
another hit. There we go.
Which for $8, you're getting 6 new maps, which is not bad. You're getting Conch Street, the Bikini Bottom Bus, the Krusty Krab. I knew that one was coming. The Paddy Wagon, the Invisible Boatmobile. So, like, as you wash it, do you just lose sight of it?
I can't wait.
And then the Mermalair, which is, I'm just looking forward to that. Sadly, they can't. I don't know if they're going to use the voice unless it's a pre-recorded clip since the voice actor passed away.
Well, they usually don't use voices for this stuff, so you're just doing things.
That's very true.
They'll just say a lot of their catchphrases,
right? And then on the complete polar opposite of what could ever come out from a game that has a SpongeBob attachment, they're doing Warhammer 40K. Why? Well, that's like saying, like, we're going to add My Little Pony and Diablo.
Well, as mentioned before, I mentioned this at least, the guys that do Power Wash are very clearly a British company. I mean, the place they do things in is called Muckingham. So clearly it's got a bit of a British bent, and, Games Workshop, Warhammer.
And it's funny,
it's
funny that comparison you just gave too, because you do know that one of the biggest, like, pairings of the internet, because it came out on the same day, was Animal Crossing and Doom.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
so you walk this, so if you're saying, like, these two are going to go together, like My Little Pony and Diablo, people will be all for that.
You're not wrong, actually.
Especially now in the new Diablo, it's Lilith, so it's Lilith and My Little Pony.
Oh boy,
My Lilith Pony. There we go.
So I'm gonna get both of these DLCs. You guys have already started some stuff. This is just so ridiculous. I have to do it.
This is one of those few instances that I would like to pre-order the DLC, please.
Yeah. So as soon as it's available, I can just get it.
Yeah.
There are so many possibilities of different weird games I would like to see pop up with this now. Because at this point, like, what is the limit? We have SpongeBob and we have Warhammer. Like, we have covered the breadth of options here.
You can clean anything. Any vehicle, any building, it really depends on what Square Enix and that company shake hands with.
The limit would be Splatoon.
Oh boy. Inkling
they
versus Power Wash.
You have to clean up their arena after they've had like a competition. You're like, oh.
It's like, oh God, I hate
You
this.
know how popular that would be as a Switch exclusive add-on.
I'm the guy who has to reset the arena by cleaning it off first.
Right. Everybody else would get the Foam Star version and be like, we're just going to buy it on Switch again. We don't want this Foam Star shit. So, yeah, that's just... This game is the gift that keeps on giving, and I am so glad you guys got me to play it. I thought it was the stupidest thing when I first saw it. I was like...
It's the Smash Brothers of simulators.
Oh, God.
Oh, pressure washing Smash Brothers. There you go.
Well, just playing as Inkling.
All right, so we had one more showcase that popped up, which we'll go into here. Marvelous Entertainment did a gaming showcase today, or last couple of days. Really quick announcements for those. Loop 8 Summer of Gods coming out June 6th. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and Steam. Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life is coming out in June. Rune Factory 3 Special is coming out in September. And then their new game, Fashion Dreamer, coming out sometime 2023.
Shown on the Direct Blast, yeah.
Yep. Project Magia. Character designs by Hiro Mashima, the guy that did Fairy Tail and Eden Zero. No date or system given for most of these. Project Life is RPG. It's the actual working title. Super early in development. They only showed off like some preview artwork with no idea of where it's going. We have a new, possibly multiplayer Story of Seasons game coming out.
Yeah, they basically want their audience back from Stardew Village.
Yep. And then Rune Factory Project Dragon takes place in an only previously hinted at Eastern lands. Stylized new graphics, more action-based gameplay for combat, and a sleeping rabbit that were shown.
And then the surprise game was at the end.
Yep. Rune Factory 6 was the other side of this that was more traditional, based on the West.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, we got Daemon Ex Machina Titanic Scion, which the whole CG trailer was just going around the mech, like showing stuff on there and everything. Nothing else was shown, no gameplay. Fairly sure this is coming out on Switch, but we don't know. It was not confirmed.
Thing to remember that a lot of people love to hear is, remember the person who designed the mechs for this game is the same guy who did Generation 1 of Transformers.
Nice.
So he's got pedigree.
He does. So that was just, a nice little showing. That was their first one they did. A little awkward for their talk, the way they were talking and doing the blue screen, but you know what? Whatever. I watched the whole thing. All right. And there's a couple stories you guys added as well. Dolphin Emulator Steam page has been removed, been delisted due to Nintendo issuing a DMCA to Valve. So this is going to be coming down for the foreseeable future. I guess I'm not really surprised.
Especially after they went after Xbox and Series S and got all that stuff removed as well.
Yeah, it's kind of did we ever get confirmation that they did that directly with the Series S?
We don't know if they did that, but it's probably around in the same wheelhouse as oh crap, like the Big N is cracking down, the Nintendo ninjas have been sent out. We don't want them to come here type of thing. So it could very well be that.
I kind of wonder if that's part of the whole Activision thing also. I know everyone keeps going to that as an excuse, but if they're trying to keep as much out of legal issues as they can to make themselves look small and, not any kind of craziness to get these things approved, they might have done it as like a preemptive thing, going like, all right, let's just shut it down for now. Because they're still available on there. You just have to go through the development setup and pay that fee and everything. I think I wanted this to be on there because that way you could just get it for Steam Deck easier, get it installed, which it ran really well on. But I think making it an actual application on there and having a Steam page for it and everything was probably that bridge too far.
Yeah.
Where it's like, now you're
flaunting it.
Right. You're kind of flashing it in our face and like, well, yeah, they're going to respond. Especially when you announce it months ahead of time. You gave them time to do it. It's not like it just came out and people got it.
Yeah,
So
sometimes this kind of thing works as long as you're low key about it. But when you're just saying, "Hey, Nintendo, look what we took from you,"
right.
that's not gonna work.
Because they're not, keep in mind, I know a lot of people are automatic going like, oh, well, this is just good reason to steal all Nintendo stuff. Is like, they're not taking the emulator away. They're not going after the company to be like, hey, you can't use this emulator at all. They did. I don't think they wanted them just having it on Steam saying, hey, you can play these Nintendo games here, and kind of pushing that as an option,
Right.
Yeah, a lot of those times, what people need to know is, um, a, a lot of it is they don't want people mistaking it for Nintendo official product
Mm-hmm.
and thinking that it's their level of quality. So if there is any problems, any inconsistencies, any malware, that it's not Nintendo's. So they're like, that's not our application, or that's not our fan made remake. That we have nothing to do with it. But we
Yeah.
don't want people to think that's us.
Yeah,
And
your emulator did an update and it bricked my Steam Deck. You owe me a new one, and Nintendo's like, what? No.
Yeah, and it hurts because sometimes it does put like a squish on any creativity or any progress they've had, and some of those companies or creators have had to turn around and kind of rebrand what they were working on to make it something else.
Right.
But then the Metroid 2 remake, eventually they made a game that was like it, but then they got hired by a bigger company, so there's a happy ending for those people.
And Nintendo still waited like a day before they shut it down. So like once it's out there, but it wasn't officially listed. And
then there's the mother translation, They haven't really done anything about that.
Oh yeah, no, they let that go. I eventually need to just find a reputable place and order one of the cartridges just already translated, and just so I can play it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it sucks, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as everybody wants to make it, because a lot of people like to try and villainize Nintendo on this, and they are just a company. They're not your friends. They're doing this stuff, but you also can't just sit there and flaunt in their face and not expect nothing to happen.
Yeah, of course.
So, Steven, you want to talk about this next one?
Yeah. So, because this is the norm this year, unfortunately, of people trying to like get it out while we can, while it's hot. Lord of the Rings Golem came out, and it is no surprise, but this time on all 3 platforms, a buggy, crashed mess. They've had to say an apology, saying we didn't intend to release it full of bugs and crashes. And I was like, that sounds like you're admitting defeat. I don't know. But I've watched streamers where it is just on one of those title screens where you just see a barely animated image, like moving, or model moving around, and it crashed the whole thing, and had to restart the game. So there, if you don't like screen tearing, or you don't like what they call hitches or hiccups in games, these ones are so big you'll think that the game froze, and then it goes back in, and then it might do it again, but then the game actually froze. It wasn't a hitch. So it's always just like, save often, and otherwise, like,
the game, save your money.
The game is being described by some people as like a chore simulator. You're basically taking the side of either Smeagol or Golem, and you're doing all these tasks. Easy enough, and there's a lot of people who can get behind it and say this is kind of fun. But as always, when you lose progress in a game to no fault of your own, that kind of just like takes away any feeling of wanting to play the game. It's like, I got this far, and I didn't think I needed to save because I didn't think the game was just going to freeze.
So I have a feeling this is going to be one of the most realistic Lord of the Rings simulators, because it will eventually end up with some kid biting off another kid's finger out of pure frustration and then throwing this game into a volcano somewhere.
Oof. Wait for that TikTok.
They're not going to be calling this game Precious, though.
I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't even know this existed until people started ragging on it.
I saw the absolutely horrible looking artwork they did for it and was like, well, that's got to be years in development. And when you told me today that this came out, I was like, holy crap, I forgot.
Chris, the pre-order bonus for this game was you could unlock his classic emotes and phrases.
Yay.
of what him hacking and complaining and
I was like, what's his classic emote? What? Is it banging his head on stuff thing, saying stupid, stupid, stupid?
well, it's obviously ripping the fish apart with his mouth, you know.
Yeah, okay.
What's taters, precious?
Bagginses. Oh Lord of the games. All right, so last thing we have here is Mortal Kombat 1 has been announced coming this September of the 2023. So the funny thing is this would technically be Mortal Kombat 12, but since they're calling it Mortal Kombat 1, it's kind of like Mortal Kombat 1 2, which is still 12.
Yeah, so it's very unique the way they're doing this because I do recommend anybody who's interested in what they saw in the trailer, please play Mortal Kombat 11. The story is fantastic.
Yes.
The game is fantastic, and then seeing the seeing how they're working this into Mortal Kombat 1, where you don't know where the alliances are. There's guesses that even Katana's now on the evil side now, and Melina's the queen. So there's a lot of these what's going on. You see Raiden as a mortal, a normal guy now. So there's a lot
going as a god.
Yeah, so there's a lot you'll get from the previous game here. Getting very interesting is they're doing things called cameo fighters, which are basically assists that just come in kind of in like Marvel versus Capcom 2 style, where they like Colossus would just come in and just hit people and leave. This is the same thing so far. We don't know what more could happen. Is it going to extend a combo? There is some, what do you call it? There is some worry about those because they're wondering because the cameo fighters will not be on the main roster so far. That they said they went ahead and said there's going to be a lot of characters, but some of them will just put as cameo fighters. But what if your favorite character is a cameo fighter? It's going to turn into a Smash Brothers situation with assist trophies where, they're in the game, but they're not a character I can fight as.
Rest in peace, Waluigi.
You know what this makes me think of more than, I mean, the Smash assists is definitely an idea of it, but that kind of makes me think of Marvel vs. Capcom 1, where a lot of those characters were just brought in as temporary before they ever became playable characters in later games or just went away. You know, you would have a couple of assists that you would pull in. I don't know, that it just makes me think of that.
So a big thing is if they did release like they're having, which is kind of insane. Unlike Street Fighter 6, where their premium edition is $90. I don't know what makes this one more, but Mortal Kombat's premium edition is $110.
I think it comes with a statue.
And this one's just a game, a steelbook, and the combat pass. But then there's a $250 edition.
Okay, F that.
Where then you'll get Liu Kang and his, all the other bells and whistles. So, but the big thing, and as I'll go into these characters real quick, is if you pre-order it, there's going to be an upcoming beta. Right now, there's actually a sign up for if you want to go through their stress test, which I signed up for my Xbox, to see what it does.
Stress on you. How many bodies can you watch get ripped apart?
And, part of the pre-order bonus, as well as being Shang Tsung you can play as, is that you will get a skin over one of the cameo fighters, which is basically going to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is an awesome homage to who they originally had and wanted for Mortal Kombat 1, but he was busy doing other things. Because they loved him in Bloodsport and they wanted to say, hey, you want to make a real Bloodsport game?
Yeah, surprising Mortal Kombat marketing move. If you pay the really big amount, they send you Jean-Claude's actual skin.
There you go. So,
he's squishy.
Like what happens with most of these games, Amazon Italy said, okay, it got announced. So that means we can unveil who's in the Combat Pass as a listing.
Whoops.
So they put a listing for the Combat Pass, and I'll read it to you because it's some of it's all right, whatever, but some of it's really exciting. So it shows what the playable characters and the cameo fighters will be. So the cameo fighters will be characters that you very vaguely remember, or you're probably going to say who is going to be Tremor,
Okay.
Movado,
Of course.
Farah,
All right.
Huh.
Chameleon with a K, so it's the female chameleon from the N64 trilogy.
That's right, because that was Nintendo exclusive for a while, which this game is coming out on Switch.
Johnny Cage, which has people worried. Like, what if we
Yeah.
want to play him as a main fighter? But some people are guessing as a cameo fighter, he'll
How
come
else are you
in,
gonna
punch you
punch
in the
people in
nuts,
the
and say, "I
balls?"
don't have time for this," and leave, because he's supposed to be the comedy character.
It says something. We both went right for the balls joke at the same time.
So did Johnny Cage.
However, on the playable character side, and this is where it gets good, because they're owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, they're dipping in deep for this one. So first we'll have the Mortal Kombat characters.
Right.
We get the return of Quan Chi, however he'll look.
Okay.
We get Ermac. Hopefully he doesn't look like a mummy anymore and he looks like a ninja, a Lin
Red
Kuei,
and black.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
And we get Takeda. Okay, on the Mortal Kombat side.
All right.
However,
Oh god.
on the guest side, which instantly got me to like, maybe I should get the premium edition, but I'll wait, was they're going to get Omni-Man from Invincible.
What?
So please get J.K. Simmons, and you've got like a guaranteed like player right there.
Oh,
You have
that's the guy that'll tear
Omni-Man.
someone apart. That fits.
You have Peacemaker. Please digitize John Cena, please.
Oh my god.
And lastly,
Digitize Arnold.
and then
Yeah, they
lastly,
do.
we have Homelander from The Boys.
Okay, I'm buying this. Screw it. I was gonna wait. I especially for the Mortal Kombat's, I wait for the complete editions because I did that for 11. I have the one that's got everything included. But that is so good.
I
Like,
can't
that's a
wait.
perfect
To see
set of
I can't wait to see
characters.
the reveal trailers for those three. I'm like, come on.
People are just gonna want to do it just to have Homelander and Ultraman fight each other.
See, it's funny. This is probably the one fighting game that you guys are looking forward to more than me. If only because
Well,
we've
okay,
seen a
so-
lot, but we've seen zero gameplay. And
yeah,
that
so we're gonna see
hurts.
that June 8th at the Summer Game Fest. They announced was when they'll show gameplay.
My only concession with that is I think, especially starting from Mortal Kombat 9 to now, and including the Injustice series and so forth, I will blindly trust their combat until they prove me wrong at this point. Like,
Yeah,
they have,
NetherRealm is pretty consistent.
yeah,
fair.
that's the only thing that I'd be like, I'm okay not seeing all that right now. Like, we'll get it later, but I feel they're not going to mess this up.
People are on the side of they'll trust it that it'll probably play like, if not play like 11, better. They're
Right.
only worried about the cameo fighters.
And
because
that's
of
just going to be
because of
tweakable
who
and
is in it.
changing. Yeah.
Because of who's in it. They've already established that it's in no way going to have modes like Street Fighter 6. They already did that way back when, and now they're moving into more arcades and just having currency in it again to unlock a bunch of stuff. So they're still going to have combat currency. We just don't know what it's going to be.
I wonder if they're going to do like a crypt or something again, which that was kind of
the
fun.
crypt
Like,
will always happen. Yeah,
I like
that's,
the
That's a
crypt.
staple.
Yeah, I like that.
They
But,
went
you know,
overboard in 11.
As somebody who watched and thoroughly enjoyed Invincible, and I know Ed Boon, how he, like, especially with Spawn, he got that attention to detail for stuff he didn't need to do.
Uh-huh.
Like when Spawn went back into hell and he was just like standing there pledging allegiance. Little touches like that, I'm expecting Omni-Man to do the, did you really think you could defeat me? Think.
Yes. I mean, okay,
Think, Raiden, think!
The fact they got Arnold back as the Terminator, the fact they got not Frank Welker, crap, what was the guy's voice for the guy that played RoboCop?
Peter Wells?
Peter Welling.
Peter Wells. Yeah.
Peter Wells. The fact they got him to come back as RoboCop, like they put the work into these like in such a nice level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, they
I
also
was
had the
disappointed.
access too.
I was disappointed they
Mhm.
couldn't afford Arnie's voice, but they at least got Sylvester Stallone. He's like, I'll come in.
Yeah, it's like, why not? I'm not doing anything. I'm free. So yeah, no, I think we're having a good time for fighting games coming out. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, we have to deal with the DLC stuff, but I hope Street Fighters at least learned the lesson of what happened with 5, and they do it more reasonably, where it's not like we're going to make you pay for every freaking color and every little thing. Like,
well, that's why they're giving you so much right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I just like that by the time we've exhausted Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat will come out.
Good point.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully the online works well for both of them so we can actually play.
Chris, you know they're going to announce something, and then you're going to tell me I have to beat Street Fighter 6 before this. They're going to announce like Tears DLC or something.
I just want to see how this Mortal Kombat's going to look on the Switch version.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So
we have to see.
If you go to the website, you can see how it's been regulated. It's the same people who worked on the versions last time. So NetherRealms is specifically working on PS5 and Series X.
Mm-hmm.
They are not making PS4 and Xbox One versions this time. They are cutting that out. Steam is done by a different team, and Saber Interactive is going to do the Switch version. So whoever worked on 11, whether you liked them or loved what they did with it, they're going to do more of the same on the next one.
11, the only thing I didn't like about it was the requirement to download stuff because it wasn't all in the cartridge, but actual gameplay and running, it felt like it shouldn't have been able to do that. It should be too much, but it did it.
What they did on Switch is they took a lot of concessions to make sure it ran at 60.
Yeah.
So
they made the right calls.
So, they knew what people would need in their fighting game. Even though the Crypt just looks like Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Oh, it's terrible. But you know what? It's one of those ports
it's still playable.
They took the right priorities, and I think that's a lot better. And I think that is a good way to lead off into our big question for this episode. I know we're running a little bit long at the moment, 2 hours and 21 minutes, but are you guys down to have a quick little chat?
Yeah. C3
nice.
All right. So the big question for this episode I wanted to bring up, after seeing a little bit of how Tears of the Kingdom is playing on the Nintendo Switch, or I guess in our case, a ungodly amount of how much we've played it, and with the system being 6+ years old at this point, do you feel that Nintendo is okay with holding off on a new system for a little while, or do they need to bring out a new hardware as soon as possible? Who wants to go first?
Steve, go nuts.
Yeah. Steven, go for it.
It's hard to say because Nintendo, unlike these other companies, as we know with Tears of the Kingdom, they held off even to polish a game.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we learned with Fire Emblem Engage, as well, is it was done, but they were like, when should we release this? So even though they haven't said anything yet, I think these next couple of months, if Nintendo comes out of their bunker for their Tears of the Bunker and says like, hey, we have a direct, I think that's gonna be like a telltale sign of how much longer it has. We don't have our Pikmin 4, and I'm pretty sure that is going to switch.
Mm-hmm.
Metroid Prime 4 is probably an enigma at this point, so it could go either way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We do know that they signed a 10-year deal with NVIDIA. So if it's a 7-year-old system, how's NVIDIA going to play in the next one? They just recently had in Japan ordered a big shipment of Sharp LCD screens. So I don't know what's going, or Sharp screens. Sorry, they didn't say LCD or OLED, so we don't know yet.
Right.
But things are in motion. But with Nintendo's pedigree of just holding on to titles to release later, or having the ability to just add more to the Nintendo Switch Online library, for other companies to release collections, they have enough to kind of, just like the end of PS2, where even Sony had abandoned at that point the PS2 and moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Other companies were releasing 3-packs physical, 2-packs, and you're seeing that kind of with Switch with 2-packs of games. And I think it's kind of like they're getting that last few drops, those also good drops out of it, because they want that claim to fame. They want either that they're the number 2 or number 1 most sold system. And while it is slowing down, Tears of the Kingdom sold 10 million copies in 3 days. If Nintendo can just be like, here, we found this in the warehouse, and it just like sells gangbusters or sells 1 million, that is just like a continuous lifeline. That's a band-aid they can keep putting on it. So definitely I think this year they don't need to bring out any new system. But next year we're going to be getting there to the point where they should be showing us stuff by then. They don't have to release it in 24, I think, but they have to show us what it's going to do, especially if they could do something like, I don't know, announce backwards compatibility, because then that would keep the Switch sales strong, because people want to make sure they have that game for the next system, because it might have a performance patch or a resolution patch, because we've heard rumors that Pokemon might get something like that for an unannounced system, and the Microsoft, disaster out there with the acquisition has already told us that they're definitely working on one, because they said Nintendo and their successor system.
Right.
So, I'm with that they can wait. I don't think they could do an enhanced one now that they have the OLED out, and the OLED is the one they use for all their really big titles to go on a special edition. So I think they're going to just without making different hardware revisions, they're just gonna 3DS this one out.
Okay, Chris, what's your thoughts?
Given excuse me, given everything that Steve said, that's he's making good points, of course.
Very good.
I have to think of whatever this new system can offer. The Switch has such a good gimmick that even Nintendo could not foresee how successful it could be for them. And at that point, two questions spring to mind. What could they do to top that? And oh boy, well, there is that.
For those listening, Steve is over there folding his phone back and forth, and boy, a kid would destroy that.
So the Switch, flip the Switch. There it is, the Switch Flip.
That's the marketing.
You just predicted the future right there.
You just get two
flip
people that come there and like, we want to flip, instead of like we want to play, we want to turn it on.
There you go.
You want to flip the Switch on its side.
The thing is, though, and I'm sure that everyone will wonder about this, is there going to be full backward compatibility for previous Switch games? If this was such a popular system, they're going to have to do the same thing they did with the Nintendo DS and throw a Game Boy Advance cart slot in there. As otherwise, all those Switch games are going to be obsolete. I cannot see Nintendo doing that. So it either has to be an upgraded Switch or the next system with backward compatibility.
I will interject a little addition there. They really, really need to upgrade their network infrastructure so it can support things like rollback netcode.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh man. So my thought on this is I agree with you, Steven. Nintendo does not need to release another system this year. Like, they're going to finish out what they have. Like, we've seen Pikmin 4. We know that's coming. They may start hinting at stuff throughout the year, but there's already been the report that, if they show hardware, it will not be until at least spring of next year. So, but Nintendo has also said that this is a unique time in their history with how many they've sold even this late in the lifetime. They're as they put it, they're in uncharted waters. They've never been to this point. So, they're wanting to just completely lost my train of thought there. Got distracted. I got a message pop up. So they're making the sales and everything. They're going to want to try and ride that for as long as they can. But they did state, that's what I remember I was going to say. They did say that they're gonna, the Switch was an errant for when they announced it to how long it took to it coming out. Traditionally, Nintendo will announce something and then the system comes out a few months later. So this, whatever comes next, I could actually see being next year, end of next year. We'll get a spring announcement, and by either that summer or that holiday season, preferably probably before, because everyone will be there for the holiday.
Yeah, please be a longer wait than it was between that really short Switch time.
Well, the Switch, I don't know. We're not gonna have too much of a wait on that one because we didn't have much wait. Shorter time.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm saying. Lengthen it, because last time they were like, "Here's the Switch coming out this holiday," and I was like, "Wait a second."
Well, that was the trailer for it, but the announcement for it was way before. We knew about the NX like 2 years prior. That's what they were talking about being that long of a time. This, I think, will be no more than 6 months to not even a year announcement to release. I do agree, if they have to have this be backwards compatible. There is no option on that. It won't be 100% because that's nitpicky when you look at it like, oh, you're not going to be able to play Labo. No shit. Like, if the thing is physically any different, you can't even do Labo on the OLED. Like, outside of those kind of errant things, I don't see a reason why you can't just play it. They might be able to keep the cartridge slot because those memory cards are expandable. They're getting larger and cheaper to produce. So they may be able to just maintain that format, possibly.
Yeah, they need to loosen the reins on that, though, because, and when you have a game like Tears of the Kingdom being close to, I think it was like 10 gigs or 15 gigs, and Mortal Kombat 1's 100 gigs, there was a report going out there that they were being very chintzy, so to speak, or cheap, by saying like, we can have these humongous games, but developers can only pick from these sizes. So when the developer says, "Oh, we went over the limit," we have to make it either download required or code in a box.
I hate that.
So they really need to loosen the reins on allowing those, especially the third-party developers, use their larger cards.
Yeah, because like this is not normally, because Nintendo, when you look back at the systems when they release them, they will just, the previous generation just dies. Very rarely does it continue on much beyond it. I think the NES was one of the errant ones that kept going for a while. They released a cheaper version of it and sold it for a bit. Super Nintendo did that to a little bit, but not much. They had the junior sized one, but it didn't really expand beyond it. N64 they just killed. Went straight to GameCube. GameCube they just killed, went straight to the Wii. Wii and Wii U, that was kind of a weird one because the Wii U tanked and the Wii had done so well, they kind of extended it, so we got some more releases.
To be fair, at least the early Wiis could play GameCube.
Yeah, and then the early, all the Wii U could play Wii. If they keep at least one generation difference, I don't want them to pull like what Sony did with the Vita. Oh, it's backwards compatible with PSP, but only the digital titles, where that was such a pain to deal with. I don't want that to be the mean, especially with my whole collection. I have 350 Switch games. If they were like, all right, it's going to be digital only, I'm like, well, that wall won't work with this hardware at all. And I'm not the biggest, but like, I am definitely not a small supporter of the Switch. Like, don't punish me for that. But if it is not it has to be a hybrid system. I don't think Nintendo can honestly ever go back to having a separate console and portable. I don't think they can. I think that needs to be their legacy from now on.
I don't want them to fragment their user base now.
Well, it's not even that. I just can't go back. The Switch has been such a game changer. Oh, we lost Chris for a moment there. You back? Chris?
I see the blood moon.
Oh, he's offline again.
Oh, the blood moon has set. The blood moon has risen.
He just keeps coming and going.
Sorry about that.
When the blood moon rises, Chris will resurrect.
Slight net problems on my end. Excuse me.
No, it's fine. It happens. That's why I like the fact that it locally records and then uploads, so we're still okay. As long as you don't close that window. But yeah, they cannot go back to separate systems. I think Nintendo at this point, just like when they moved from making toys to making consoles and video games, this is their new change. They're going to be the hybrid system. And I'd rather have that. People complain about, oh, it's not as powerful, but that convenience cannot be topped. I spent just between my flight from Atlanta to Las Vegas this week, it's like a 3-4 hour flight. I spent the entire time just playing Tears of the Kingdom, just chilling out there, Joy-Cons in my hands, playing this on my OLED. Perfectly content with a pair of headphones. Can't go back. And I think they're too far gone in this lifetime to be able to do a Switch Plus. I think at this point we need new hardware. But I think that's the concessions. Yeah. They might be able to pull off like a Game Boy Color type thing where it's a new generation, but they still count it as part of it to maybe see if they can finagle the sales numbers to get that top spot. Or I could see them trying to continue with the Switch as a second system, but I think that would just lead to too much confusion between consumers. Oh, Metroid Prime 4 is out. They promised that for the Switch. What's this Super Switch only? Like how are they going to market that confusion?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting though. Also the naming convention, because PlayStation just adds one, so theirs is easy. Xbox put themselves into a corner because they went from 360 to 1. Yeah. And then they went to Series X and S, which obviously did confuse people. But like, what could they call this one? Is definitely contentious. Like, is it a Super Nintendo Switch? Is it a Switch 2? Like you wrote here, is it Switch Plus? Like, what's going to happen?
I think it's going to have to keep that. I know they tried to keep the Wii name with the Wii U, and that whole thing was a confusing mess in their marketing for how they handled it.
Even the logo,
I think they had the right idea. I think they need to continue calling it the Switch, but they're gonna have to find a way to make it different enough. And they could still keep it compatible with some of the equipment. There's nothing saying, that USB-C output can't use your existing dock to output to a TV.
That would be fantastic if that happened too.
Yeah, because I don't see anything they could reasonably do putting out a 4K signal unless it upscales. Like maybe it does that with that specific dock, but on a normal dock it could still work. Like let you use this stuff, like you could use GameCube controllers on the Wii remotes on the Wii U, stuff like that.
Yeah, like is there a difference between my Switch dock and my Steam Deck dock that both output to their highest resolutions when you connect them to a TV?
Like, so would you guys find it like, all right, how about this for a concession? If they do new controllers, like they completely change the Joy-Cons to something different.
They need to on that end though with the drift.
Would you be happy though if it was like it was on the Wii where you had to have a GameCube controller to plug in to play a GameCube game if you had to have a pair of Joy-Cons to play a Switch game backwards compatible? Like if that was a requirement or somehow it changed enough.
I would hope at that point we'd have Switch Joy-Cons that worked better. Sensor bar or no, because right now nothing beat Wii Motion Plus, and a lot of people feel that Switch games are being held back when translated from Wii U games because of that.
Yeah, a part of me would love if they went to the infrared of, I don't think it would necessarily, because we don't need them with the, we don't need it with this guy. So whatever this guy's using with the PS5, PlayStation 5 DualShock controller, DualSense controller, is, other than improving it so the drift is either a lot less likely, I think with the number of games that are out there, I don't think it would be that bad if they went straight to infrared. The only thing I would wonder is if, just like PSVR 1 to VR 2, could those games, like the fitness games like 1-2 Switch, could they get a compatibility patch to enable infrared to fix that? Because I agree with you that I wouldn't mind having it where you would need that new controller or a previous controller. But if it was a Joy-Con game, you'd have to have the old Joy-Cons. But if they could make a new one, it would have to have compatibility patches. There's only like a dozen games that only use Joy-Cons.
I'm about to say I would actually be willing to completely drop the games that require Joy-Cons and just make it where you want to play Switch games, Pro Controller. Like, just make the Pro Controller a requirement. And if they end up not using those Joy-Cons in the same means, you'd lose what? Mario Party wouldn't be out. And there's a couple multiplayer games that let you use the Joy-Con sideways. But a lot of those were either updated or would let you use a Pro Controller anyways. So I think that would be within the range of, pretty close to full support, because no system has ever been 100% backwards compatible unless it actually had stuff built in. And even then, there was PS1 games that could not work on a PS2 for whatever reason. Things like that still happen.
If I had one gripe that I hope Nintendo would fix, if they stay with the same Switch type functionality, is you have to have something that doesn't allow you to launch a touch only game from your Pro Controller on your TV. I've had so many games that are interesting looking. I download the demo and I start them up, and the Pro Controller turns off because it's a touchscreen game. And I'm like, you're in the dock and you want to be a touchscreen. So I was like, there should at least, if you're going to keep me from launching the game because one of my profiles needs to verify its password or the backup data is not up to date, please give me a warning that this is a touch-only game and to remove it from the dock, because it makes no sense that it launches
that
anyway.
actually stopped me from playing Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, because you cannot play that game with a Pro Controller.
That's true. Yeah, I used the little Pokeball.
That works too.
Likewise,
it was fun.
But that was my biggest gripe with the system. It was just like, stop launching touch-only games in the dock.
I kind of wonder though if, Sony likes to ape a lot of the Nintendo stuff. Maybe Nintendo should ape the touchpad from the PS5 or something like that, to have that as a basic touch interface. Just have the cursor show up, or you could at least do something.
Yeah.
That way you could bring back a little bit of that Wii U feel for some of the games, like for Pikmin, being able to actually slide that around on there to pick where you're going to put them, I think would work really well. So it seems like we're kind of in a consensus that Nintendo needs new hardware, but I do like how we're talking about like what caveats we could do with that, how it could actually, how would we accept it, I guess.
Fair.
And if we know Nintendo, they're not listening to any of us.
Oh, of course not.
But they will also give us something we did not expect, but really want.
The Switch Sleep. No, Pokemon beat us to that. Never mind.
I will say, and I know people are just, you're just like a fanboy. I'm like, yeah, I like a lot of gaming, but I don't have a Nintendo system that I have not had fun with. One way or another, no matter how weird it is, even down to the Virtual Boy, I had fun with them. Like, they were entertaining for some, they were weird in some ways, but they were fun to play and use. So I at least I'm hoping that Nintendo is kind of still going to continue that with whatever their successor is. I don't want them to try and compete with Sony and Microsoft directly. I think Nintendo has thrived when they've just gone off on their own thing, which I think is a good lasting legacy from Iwata and them at that time.
Yeah, and I feel this next one will be the first one that's strictly under the new president.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be very interesting the path they take under his leadership, because now it's strictly him. Now it's not a mixture of Iwata and Furukawa.
I think it was, yeah, Furukawa was in there. So, all right. Well, I think that was a well discussed big question for this week.
For the mega episode.
Hey, it's not that bad. Like, the time's gone by pretty quick, and hopefully it's been a fun conversation. Let us know if you did enjoy this. We're always looking for reviews, ratings on your podcast apps. Give us a like and share it if it's the YouTube version. Like, we're trying to get more people to talk about the show and share it out there. Tell us what you think. We don't really hear from that many people. We hear from a couple of them, but we'd love to hear from other people. If you have big questions that you want us to discuss, send them to us. We will pop those on the show, and it's something we want to keep doing every episode as a segment. But you can reach me directly over on Twitter at Zenspath, Znspath. You can't find me at Zenspath Pod because Twitter's being a dick. You can find the video version of this at youtube.com/ZenspathCom or Zenspath.com without the period. Anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so forth. But you can also find my lovely co-host here. Stephen, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me still lurking on the hellscape known as Twitter. That doesn't allow Zenpath Pod.
Bastards.
As at loading_time. And yeah, for any listeners, like if you guys want to pick out what you want to see Chris wear next, his next outfit, go for it. You'll see it on the next episode.
We'll make Chris draw it. Chris, I know the answer every time, but I'm still going to ask it anyways. Where can we find you on the internet?
Even if you could, you can't now because I'll be playing Switch. But aside from that, I exist only as a voice.
For now. I swear to God, I'm going to try and send you a camera. It is always a pleasure to have you guys on, though, so we can keep this going. But this has been episode 89 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Back to Hyrule we go.
Seriously, just call it the Super Nintendo Switch if you just do it.